Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Irish Breakdown Podcast, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Happy Friday! Hope everybody's as ready for the weekend as we are. Vince, how much of your summer you got left? You got a couple weeks, yeah?
A couple weeks. So Dylan goes back to school on the 11th. So
Okay.
we pack up the cars, take him up there, and literally the next day on the 12th, I go back to school. So that's a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So next week is my last full week of shows and fun times of the summer. So then it's back to the grind, baby. Back to the grind.
Love it.
I visited the office today. It was bittersweet. It's like I love my job. I love the, schedule, and like I'm just like a type A type person. Like I like to have a schedule, to know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And obviously school provides that. But I also like just chilling in the afternoon with my IB peeps and not doing schoolwork and things of that nature. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm excited to see my coworkers and things of that nature, but summer goes by too fast, man. That's how it goes.
Always does. But like our girl Karen reminds us, 37 days till Notre Dame plays Wisconsin.
Baby.
That is the one part of summer that I am happy that is going by a little bit too quickly.
I am so fired up for that weekend. It is going to be an absolute blast. Really looking forward to. I'm going up to Hillsdale early. They're having a symposium on the Revolutionary War all day on Friday, so I'm going to go do that. It's like free lunch, and like you get to sit in on all these talks. Like that's totally my geek side of things. So I'm going to have a great time on Friday, stay the night. Saturday, game at noon, opening game for the kid, and then drive home. Next day, get up, drive to Green Bay, watch Notre Dame kick the crap out of Wisconsin, stay the night, drive back, and then go back to school the next day. That's a great weekend, man. Like I am fired up for that weekend for so many reasons.
Yeah, that's an electric weekend.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you that you get to enjoy it, man. But before we get to all the electric weekends, college football's right around the corner. Fall camp starts next week, folks. So we're creeping up here.
Less than a week.
Thank goodness. I need football back in my life, man. Something fierce. But we do get to talk some Notre Dame football today, Vince. We are talking about – I actually got this idea. Brian, yesterday when we had our mailbag, talked about how great of a job you guys have been doing this offseason. And with the final push for the magazine, we're holding off on some show topics, a little peek behind the curtain, just because – we don't want much overlap. Like we talk about it in the show and we write about it on the front page and we have it in the magazine. And so Vince and I sat down and we were trying to come up with a topic for today. And it was actually a buy, sell, hold submission that kind of generated this idea of we get questions all the time around, can Notre Dame break this record this season? Can Notre Dame break this record this season? So we wanted to dedicate a show and talk about the type of records that could be broken this season. So in part one, we're talking about just overall team records. We're talking win streaks. We're going to talk about like team achievements. So like points scored in a certain game or more touchdowns scored in a season or sacks in a single season, things that you do as a team or as a unit. Then at the end of that part, we're going to, just for fun, Vince, throw you a little curveball. I added this into our outline last second. But it's a record that would be very difficult to break, but you could see it happening. Like it's not something outlandish. But it would be difficult. And then in part two, we're talking about individual records that can be broken. So player specific. So thinking about, will somebody break Brady Quinn's passing touchdowns in a game record, which I believe is 6 against BYU in 05, and individual records on offense and defense. Then we're going to take everything home today with a mailbag. So obviously in shows like today, we prefer questions around the topic. So if you guys find records, I believe the 2025 Notre Dame record book is just on their website that you can go and look at. You can get our thoughts on, because there's definitely more than what we talked about. But spoiler alert, the record book that Notre Dame has on their website is over 330 pages long. And that's just not, if we talked about every single one of them, we would be doing this show for 24 hours. So we picked out a couple on each side of the ball and for the team. But for the mailbag, you can ask questions about certain records. It is also Friday, so it's going to be kind of like a quasi Friday free-for-all daily mailbag type of deal. But Vince, I'm excited to dive into this today, man. This is going to be a fun way to end the week.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, I'm generally terrible at projections and predictions. And so this is right up my alley of probably being wrong in a lot of cases. but it's fun to prognosticate and get it out there. So I'm really excited. And thanks, Bernie. Says, spoiler alert, we won the Revolutionary War. You're absolutely correct. And I'm looking forward to reliving that experience. So
there you go. He saved you that trip on Friday so you don't have to go to the symposium. So really your weekend could just be all football, dude.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It's free of charge, though, too, if anybody else wants to go. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. There you go. Well, when we start talking about records, here's some of the interesting pieces about this.
Yeah.
We're talking about modern day records because when we just talk overall program records, if you guys go online and you find that Notre Dame record book that they have on their website, they have some categories sorted into like post 1966, post 1990, because as you guys know, the game has evolved over that amount of time. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's some of the records that were in Notre Dame's record book. The program record for points per game in a single season is 55.6, which was set in 1912, the same year the Titanic sank. Okay. Now we're talking about something quite some time ago. In the record book for the top 5 record-breaking defenses and points per game, at number 1 was 1903, allowing 0.0 points per game.
Yes, that's a dominant defense.
If Notre Dame allows 0.0 points per game this season, I will buy all of us season tickets for next year. That's just how impossible that record is to be broken. Okay, but something to definitely root for. But even then, it's not like it was 1903 and then the next record was that famous 1966 season where they only allowed 3.8 points per game, wasn't even in the top 5. They allowed 1.1 in 1917, 1.7 in 1906, and 1.8 in 1909. So this just adds a little bit of context towards when we talk about certain records, it's modern day records. It's post 1990 or it's post 1966, or sometimes the modern era of college football is considered anything post World War II, which ended in 1945.
Yep.
So that kind of gives you a little bit of context here, Vince. But when we talk about overall team records that could be broken, we're going to talk about overall program right now. And the first one is a win streak. And I think that'd be fun to get us started.
This is the one that when we were talking on the phone earlier this morning, it was like, you know what? You asked, like, what is the longest win streak in history? I was like, well, shoot, they're sitting at 10 right now. And, you know, we have gone into depth about what the schedule is like this year and what it looks like and you know, Notre Dame's chances and the fact that Marcus Freeman hasn't made it out of a September unscathed yet in his career. So, I mean, there's a lot riding on this schedule. But the record is 23. The record is 23, which, you know, let's do the math on this one. You've got 10 in the bag already. And so if they go undefeated in the regular season, you know, that's 22. So you're 1 off the record at that point, and you have to win 1 playoff game, which could potentially be at home, which could potentially be a neutral site after a bye. I mean, who knows what the CFP holds and what that looks like. You win 1 game, and all of a sudden you've tied the all-time record at Notre Dame for consecutive wins. That's saying something. Like, that's massive. I really like this record. I guess I generally like team records more than individual records. It's just the way I'm built, probably because I was a coach, you know, that kind of a thing. But I think this one is a very attainable record. When you look at the schedule, you know, obviously you hope there's not a letdown, you know, some point during the regular season. But if you can get through the regular season, you know, unscathed, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that they're going to make a bit of a run in the playoff and they could break this record. I'm excited about this record. I think there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I'm with you. When I look at the outlook of Notre Dame season, a lot of flack has been generated around their schedule. Is it as difficult as what some Notre Dame fans want it to be? No, it's not. Is it as easy as what it's being painted to be? Also, no, it's not. When you look at what their odds are on FanDuel, their over-under win total for the season is at 11.5. They're the only Power 4 program at 11.5. So to your point, they're in a position to where they can get this done. I do think that this is going to be Marcus Freeman's first year where he gets out of September unscathed. At least he better. And at least Notre Dame better. You have Wisconsin at a neutral site. Then you're back at home for the season, for the home opener against Rice. Then you're at home against Michigan State, and then you travel out to Purdue. Those are your 4 games in September. Got to come out undefeated there. So very interested to see how that pans out. But if they do go undefeated this year, they have an absolutely fantastic opportunity to go and beat that record. It's the regular season and 2 playoff games. That is very, very doable. And just to add this cherry on top, I can't add this in as my own because Brian and I also talked about what the outline for the show was going to be. Definitely wanted to add this nugget in there. Marcus Freeman, very early into this season, has the opportunity to surpass Brian Kelly's all-time win streak at Notre Dame, which is 13 games in a row. They beat LSU in that bowl game to end 2017. That was a game where Miles Boykin had that crazy one-handed catch, makes a couple defenders miss, scores a touchdown, and then they went undefeated in the 2018 regular season. So there's those. That's his win streak. That's at 13. If Marcus Freeman goes undefeated in the month of September, he has that broken from the previous coach. So that is also going to be massive for Notre Dame this upcoming season. But I'm with you, Vince. The opportunity is there to absolutely break this record. And there's a chance that they could shatter this record. They're the team that we think that they have the opportunity to be.
They could shatter it. And, and if I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but at the same time, if Notre Dame goes out and wins a title with an undefeated season, that means they probably went 15-0. Being realistic, I don't see how. I find it hard to see the scenario where Notre Dame is undefeated and they don't get a first round bye, that they get dropped all the way to 5. Is it possible? Yes, you could come up with a scenario where that's the case. But they would need to win 3 games, if they get a first round bye, right? And so they would go 15-0. Then that record is still intact going into the following season, right? And the following season, obviously the schedule isn't 100% done yet, I don't believe. But, oh, crap, I'm on Notre Dame's site, and of course they don't have it. Who do they open up with next year? I believe they open up with a decent opponent, correct?
I thought it was Purdue, but I could be wrong.
Let me see. Oh, it's going to be IB. I can look at the schedule page on our awesome magazine, which is right here. Purdue. Then they've got a bye potentially, and then Michigan State. I'm sure they'll put something in there. So, if you look at that schedule, Purdue, Michigan State, Auburn, Kent State, there's some possibility of continuing that trend there a little ways into next season is the point that I'm very slowly getting to. So that's pretty exciting because that would put them at 25 at the end of this season. And then you can tack on a few more, going into next season. That's a record that could continue on. So yeah, I think this is a very doable record considering Notre Dame's schedule, how good the team is, and the fact that they're already sitting on 10, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But not the only record that we're going to be talking about today, Vince. There's a lot here that Notre Dame could break. Let's talk about the offense. And I put these in a weird order, Vince. So
it's okay.
I'm going to kind of lead us through this here. And we're going to start off with the most touchdowns scored in a single season. So the record right now is 72 total touchdowns scored in a season. And that record was set in 2024. Now, kind of like how I talked about how back in the day, it was different. Like the Notre Dame points per game record was scored when they were playing like IU medical. But, it's when they were playing fire departments. And so it's just a little different. They're playing average Joe's gym and they were allowing 1.7 points per game. And so,
I mean, you're not wrong. Some of the teams that they played way back in like the 1800s and the 1900s, early 1900s are ridiculous. Like
it's crazy.
It's like the medical team from South Bend, that kind of a thing. Like they're just looking for anybody to play at that point. But yeah, you joke, but you're not wrong is the thing.
It is definitely said sarcastically, but it's also not far off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like they were playing the SC-LSU Mud Dogs before they added Bobby Boucher. Like it's like they were playing teams like that. But the inverse though that gives Notre Dame a chance to break some of these records is they're going to play significantly more games than they had the opportunity to. And this is one of those records.
Yep.
So I don't think it's a coincidence that in the first time Notre Dame played 16 games in a season, they broke the all-time touchdown record in a single season at 72. Why I think that this is attainable for this season, though, for context, Notre Dame scored 70 touchdowns last year in 4 less games than what they played in 2024. I got to imagine that all-time touchdown record of 72 is at risk when you start talking about the 26th season.
Oh, it's massively at risk. And to your point, I mean, they didn't have a postseason last year. Even if they would have gone to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the odds are that they would have broken that record. And so it's a great record in 24. Obviously, they went on a run. They had all kinds of opportunities in the postseason to continue to score touchdowns. And then the team the following year set team records for offense and scoring, which is not a surprise that they put a bunch of touchdowns on the board in the regular season. And so, look, we're anticipating that Notre Dame's going to make a bit of a run in the playoff, whether it's 1, 2, 3 games, whatever. So you're going to be able to capitalize on that. But personally, I think they break the record in the regular season. I mean, that's what I see happening. I think they are actually going to break this record during the regular season. And then whatever they do in the playoff is gravy. And that record just is going to continue to break itself until the end of the season. So this one is a pretty easy one, honestly, in my opinion. I think that they're just going to do what they do, and they're going to put up a bunch of touchdowns. And, you know, if CJ Carr is who we think he is going to be, and he's going to be the take that step, you know, from last year to this year, from his sophomore to his junior year, and I think he's going to throw some more touchdowns. I think the running game is not going to see a massive drop-off as a whole. Like, if you're looking at the stats as a team rushing, I don't think you're going to see much of a drop-off, whether it's touchdowns or yards per game or whatever the case may be. And so because of that, I think they break it in the regular season, Trev.
I mean, look, man, they were too shy of doing it last year.
Right.
They went 10-2. I mean, and all chips on the table, I think this schedule is a little bit easier than what they had last year. So I think that's absolutely doable. Another one on offense. This one is more like inside of Notre Dame specific, but I thought it was a fascinating stat. Points per game in a season at home. That record is at 43.7 points per game at home. That record was set in 2023, which included their 17-14 loss against Ohio State. So I know I had to do some digging on it, because originally I was like, I don't know if that's possible, because they have Miami at home this year. With all due respect, I think win or lose, they're going to be able to score points against SMU. Miami was the one team where it's like, I don't know if that record's going to be broken, because they get the Hurricanes in South Bend this year. But then I go and I look at what that 2023 team did at home. They put up 56 on Tennessee State, 41 against Central Michigan, 48 against USC, 58 against Pitt, and 45 against Wake Forest in their other home games. I think that's absolutely doable this year. When you factor in they get Rice at home, Michigan State at home this year. I believe, Boston College is going to be at home this year. SMU, obviously, Miami's going to be at home this year. And there's one game that I'm forgetting. Stanford. Stanford is also going to be at home this season. So I think that's absolutely a very doable record that they could break this upcoming season, Vince. What do you think? 43.7 points per game at home. What do you say?
Well, I mean, they were 40 points a game overall for offense, and they broke the school record. And I don't think that scoring 4 more points at home is out of the realm of possibility. I really don't. I think that's a very doable record to hit. And, you know, making these predictions is tough, because I know what I want to see. I know what I think I'm going to see from the offense. I think we're going to see some fireworks from this offense, especially just based on last year. And you're returning your quarterback. You have a better offensive line. I think we can agree, across the board. You've got more dynamic possibilities at wide receiver. You know, again, I said I don't think the running game is going to have a drop off as a whole. There's no Jeremiah Love on the roster, at least that we're aware of. But I think overall they're going to be fine, running the football. And you've got a more experienced quarterback. So, I just feel like there's going to be an uptick in offensive production. And I don't think 4 points is out of the realm of possibility. Look, they just went out and got a kicker who kicks 88% field goals. And if he hits 1 field goal a game at home, you're almost there. You know what I mean? Or, I don't know, hits a couple of extra points which apparently was a bit of a challenge last year. So, a field goal and an extra point, and boom, you've got yourself the home record. So I think this one is well within reach of a record-breaking situation. I really do.
This one's going to be a little bit more interesting, this next record that we're going to talk about, but also still within the realm of possibility. Overall theme for today's show, guys, we're having a lot of fun here, but we're also talking about records that can be broken. Like, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Like, there was a record that I saw. The most amount of points Notre Dame scored in a game was, I think it was against like Avient Medical, and they beat them 149-0. Like, so we're talking about things that can actually happen.
Yeah.
In a college football game in this day and age, but one of them is points scored in a first half. That record was set last year against Syracuse. They scored 49 points in the first half. When you have games against Rice, Purdue, Boston College, teams like that this upcoming season, I also think that that's in reach, because last year Notre Dame didn't do it against a G5 team. They didn't do it against an FCS team. They did it against another Power 4 team that the year prior went 10-3. Fran Brown is a heck of a head coach. And they went into Notre Dame Stadium. And now some want to call it fluky. I don't think it was fluky. I think it was pure dominance. Now, I don't think that they're going to do it in the same fashion. I don't think that game starts out pick six, block punt for a touchdown, pick six, 65-yard touchdown run, 58-yard touchdown run. I think it's going to be much more offensive driven, but that wouldn't surprise me if they were able to break that against some of these opponents.
I tell you what, I'm looking at the record book right now, and they abused American Medical.
I know.
That's a rough series for American Medical. They 1902 they won 92-0, and then they followed it up 3 years later with 142-0, trouncing. And to your point earlier, the fifth most points scored in a game for Notre Dame all time is against Chicago Physicians and Surgeons. Those are my favorite. Chicago Physicians and Surgeons.
So the next time
go ahead. Sorry.
The next time somebody tells me Notre Dame doesn't play anybody, they're willing to go out and dominate people in the medical field who have the smartest minds out there. So don't you tell me that they don't play anybody. I will have none of it. I
just had a bunch of medical procedures done in the last year, and I remember all my doctors and my surgeons. I'm not suiting them up anytime to go up against Notre Dame. Like, I just don't see that being a situation that would benefit the Chicago Physicians and Surgeons. I'm just going to throw that out there. Great minds, amazing what they did, but I'm not sending them out on a go route against Leonard Moore anytime soon. So just want to throw that out there.
100%. Yep. 100%. In the same lines,
yes.
Another record that I think that could be broken is what Notre Dame did to Syracuse just in the first quarter alone. They scored 35 points against Syracuse in the first quarter last year. Again, with the level of opponents that they play this upcoming season, I could see that happening. I really could. Will it take a certain level of dominance in some of those games? Absolutely. This is one where it's weird to me, but I think that 49 points in one half is more attainable than 35 in a quarter, because then you start talking about limited possessions. You start talking about, you have the opportunity, like turnovers and a pick six or a special teams touchdown will have to happen, I think, for that record to be broken, but it's absolutely possible.
They set a lot of records against Syracuse. I'm looking at one right now, that rushing yards per attempt. They got that one against Syracuse, 13.7 yards per attempt. They only ran the ball 24 times against Syracuse and racked up 329 yards of offense, or 329 yards on the ground. Like, that one's probably not going to get broken anytime soon, because the next best, as I'm looking at it, is 10.1 against Boston College in 2017. And they won 49-20, but they had 51 attempts for 515 yards. So 13.7 yards per attempt, I don't think is getting broken anytime soon. Just to throw it out there. There's just a lot of records that were set by the team against Syracuse, because that was a rough game for the Orange.
Now, sticking along the lines of yards per attempt, we're going to switch gears here and talk postseason. Still talking yards per attempt. The all-time program record for Notre Dame in rushing yards per carry in a bowl game is 5.74. And that record was held by the 2022 team, and they rushed for that against South Carolina in the 2022 Gator Bowl. If Notre Dame makes the playoffs this year, and if this offensive line is what we believe it to be with Will Black, I mean, when they get to the postseason, Will Black will be going into start 13. Anthony Knapp is going to be going into start 39. Gerby Lambert's going to be going into he'll be going into start 40. Gerby Lambert's going to be going into start 25. Ashton Craig, if he stays healthy, is going to be going into start 25. Sullivan Absher is going to be going into start 18. So if there's an offensive line to help them accomplish that, this would be the one. And depending on who the matchup is, I could see this program and this team averaging more than 5.7 yards per carry next year in the postseason. I could see that happening. What do you think?
Yeah, especially, if somehow they drop a game and they end up with a home game, in the first round, probably against an inferior opponent. I could see that being, they're going to run for more than that at home against, I don't care who, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care who it is. They would run for more than that. But again, if they're undefeated, they get a bye, whether it's the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl, whatever the case may be, they're going to have an inferior opponent coming to play them. I could very easily see that be the case. Now, obviously that gets harder as you move further into the playoff, but a round one game or a semifinal game, that they have Notre Dame's first game of the playoff, they're going to establish the line of scrimmage. They're going to establish the run. And this is a very physical, very aggressive offensive line. At least we believe it will be. And I could very easily see that be broken, and probably broken by a lot, to be honest with you. I'm actually kind of surprised it wasn't broken in 2024 because they obviously ran the ball a lot. But I could definitely see that one be broken for sure.
Well, and they're going to need it. This, outside of just talking about the fun of breaking records, this has like real season application to it, because that's an area that Notre Dame hasn't done well in the big moments with this offensive line. Last year against Miami, they averaged 3.3 yards per carry. Against Texas A&M, they averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Against USC last year, they absolutely ripped them up in one of the dumbest game plans I've ever seen put together by DeAnton Lynn and Lincoln Riley. I don't know how in the rain you game plan for CJ Carr more than you game plan for Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price after you watch them rip you up in 2020. I'm not upset that it happened, but that's where they're at. And then you go back to 2024 in the playoffs. Notre Dame yards per carry against Indiana, 5.5. You get close, but it's not that 5.74 record breaking. And then against Georgia, you average 4.2. Then obviously against Penn State and Ohio State, you average 2.79 and 2.04. Whereas Miami this past year against Texas A&M on the road in the playoffs, one of the reasons why they were able to rush, and one of the reasons why they were able to win that game 10-3 is they averaged 6.25 yards per carry. They averaged 5.24 yards per carry against Indiana, one of the best rush defenses in college football in the national championship game. So that's going to have real-world application for Notre Dame if they're able to beat that record this year in a bowl game, because that's just an individual bowl game. I absolutely like their chances in the postseason this year.
Yeah. Agreed. Continue.
No, you're good, brother. Let's talk about the defense. This one, again, it's a little bit more tough, and I'm going to need more time. This is something this conversation that we're having right now on the show is something I plan on carrying over to the message boards at boards@irishbreakdown.com. Because the defense, I'm going to need a little bit more time to dive into, because like I said, it's just such a different game than what it was when they were setting records against Chicago Medical, and defensive points per game records in 1907. But the one that I have that I'm pretty confident in is sacks in a single season as a team, and that's 41. So Notre Dame last year, that record was set in 2021 by a Marcus Freeman-led defense. His first year as defensive coordinator, they set the program record for sacks in a single season. Last year, for context, they had 34 in the regular season. One, I think this defensive line is going to be more productive than what it was last year, more efficient, with guys like Boubacar breaking out, with guys like Bryce Young breaking out. Bryce Young was only 2 overall pressures behind Boubacar Traore last year on 92 less pass rushing snaps. If Bryce Young's able to finish at the point of attack a little bit more, those sack numbers ramp up. We saw the disruptive numbers from Drake Bowen and Kingston Viliama raise as the season went on. So I'm confident that with the ramped level of production that we're going to see just over the course of the regular season, then once they get into the postseason, I could find them hunting for 5 to 6 more sacks to get to that 42 number. And that would break Notre Dame's all-time program record for sacks in a single season.
I mean, I think we're all very high on the defensive line and what they're going to be able to bring to the table, this season. I think that if this defense is going to be the elite defense that we think that they are going to be, this is the number right here. Like this is a major number that we're all going to be keeping track of. Tackles for loss. Chris Ash has said, I want to be able to stop the run. My emphasis is on stopping the run, which means they're going to be getting penetration. They're going to be getting into the backfield and, play action. Don't give these guys some extra time, to get after your quarterback. Play action is tough because I don't think these guys are going to bite a whole lot on play action. And so I do feel like this is a very gettable number. And it's not just going to come from the defensive line. It's also obviously going to come from the linebackers. It's going to come from the secondary. It's going to come from all over the field, which is the exciting part. Chris Ash is going to bring some guys from all over the field. We started to see that, second half of last year. And once he got to know his personnel, and obviously there's a ton of personnel coming back. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about this number. I think this number is very much in danger of falling.
Just for fun, Vince, let's talk about a record that would be very difficult to break, but you could see it happening. I'll get us started here. And the record that I have in mind is interceptions in a single season, which was set back in 1977. That record is 29 picks in 1 year, which is just a heck of a year in 1977. So for context, in 2025, last season, they got 21. This is going to be a very difficult record to break. I won't kid you around on that, especially when you factor in one of their games is slated against Navy. Now, they've picked off Blake Horvath before in the past. I think Navy's offense is going to be different with Braxton Woodson. Be very interested to see what Drew Cronick does there. But you really have one game out of your 12-game regular season where you're just not going to have that many opportunities to get an interception, but it is doable. But when you factor in the postseason and the level of dominance that I think that we're going to see from this secondary, I absolutely think that we could see this team. Like, I don't think that they're going to wait until their second game of the season this year to get an interception like they did against Texas A&M, and I believe they only had one. It was that pass that Leonard Moore picked off. I don't think that through the first, they had one or two interceptions against Purdue. I don't know if they had any against Arkansas, and then things really started to ramp up against Boise State. They picked off Maddox Madsen like 4 times. So I see that level of production more consistently on a weekly basis. Not saying they're going to get 4 interceptions every week, but multiple interceptions more consistently. So that's what I'm going with, Vince. I think that they have the opportunity to break that record, but it's going to be very, very difficult. That one's more so just for fun.
Yeah, I had a tough time kind of figuring out which direction I wanted to go because a lot of records that are set, whether it's passing or whether it's rushing or, something along those lines on the offensive side, it's because they were a one-sided offense. They had to throw the ball a ton or they had to run the ball a ton or whatever the case may be, right? So it was like, do I think like one of the ones I was contemplating was, season yards per game throwing the football. It was 330. That's a big number. Now, if CJ Carr, if you were going to tell me that he was going to play every snap 4 quarters for 12 games, I'd be like, you know what? That's a doable one. That's a possibility, right? He had like 255 a game last year, and I think that puts him in 8th place right now. I think that number is going to get bigger. I just don't know he's going to crest over 330. That's a lot. And that one was Brady Quinn back in 2005. And they threw the ball a ton, back in 2005, obviously. So I just don't know if that one was going to be very possible. The one I ended up going with was least amount of interceptions thrown in a season, in a regular season. And right now the record is held by our boy Ian Book in 2020 with 3. He had 3 interceptions that year. CJ Carr had 6 last year in 12 games in his first year starting. Obviously, that was Ian Book's 3rd year under center. And so a lot of experience there, things like that. So I thought to myself, CJ Carr is going to be better. He's a bit more of a gunslinger, obviously, than Ian Book. Ian Book did not put the ball in harm's way very often, which is why his number was low, and I totally get that. This is going to be a very difficult record to break, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised because of the throwing prowess of CJ Carr. And so, he's got a little bit more Brett Favre in him than he does Ian Book in him, obviously, and so he's going to put the ball, in some tight windows, and it could ricochet in the air, and it could cause an interception, and things like that. But could he cut down his intercept? Look, 6 isn't a lot either, right? It's still in the top 10, by the way, for season lows. I think it's number 6, actually. But I could see it. He could be flirting with that. I think that's a definite possibility. And then my counter argument to the 330 yards per game of him not being in every game, well, he's not going to be in every full game, and so he's going to have less opportunities to throw interceptions. I could see that being the case as well. And so I figure why not? That's going to be a tough one to attain. But again, it wouldn't surprise me because of who CJ Carr is. So I went with 3 season-long interceptions as the record. Let's go ahead and break that thing.
Love it. You think he throws 2 interceptions this year? I respect that.
Why not?
You think he's going to have what was it that year that Aaron Rodgers won the MVP where he had like 40 touchdowns and like 2 picks or something dumb?
Okay. Dumb.
Okay. I respect that.
Yeah, we'll see why not, right? And that was, by the way, that was in 12 games for Ian Book, so it's a regular season. So I'm talking about regular season for CJ Carr. I think it's a possibility. I do.
Vince, let's switch gears and talk about individual player records here on the Irish Breakdown podcast, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Just got done talking about program records and like unit records, so like offensive records, defensive records. Let's get into the weeds a little bit more and talk about which individual player records that we believe can be broken. And again, we did the same thing that we did on the other side of the ball. We split it up into offense, defense, and just for you, Vince, because I knew we were doing the show today, I did one special teams one in there for you because you're my guy, and I had to make sure that I talked a little bit about kickers. But before we dive into these records, Vince, I think one of the reasons that makes this conversation possible is the outlook of their team this upcoming season. With all due respect to past Notre Dame teams, there were years that we were entering with the quarterback play that I was like, they're not going to break that record. Like it's cool that we're having fun today. It's a Friday. We're talking about the potential records that Notre Dame could break on offense, defense, and special teams. But it's the makeup of this roster and the product that we've seen on the field that make this a possible conversation to where if somebody were to tune in, like, are they talking about so-and-so breaking the passing touchdowns record? Okay. Are they talking about so-and-so defense breaking this record from, okay. But the makeup of this roster, when you have guys like CJ Carr, the outlook of the offensive line, guys like Leonard Moore, Boubacar Traore, Briante Johnson on defense, a lot of these records become significantly more possible in comparison to other years. And look, man, that's a really exciting place to be.
It is a really exciting place to be. And when you take each individual player, kind of like we're going to do, I mean, when you're talking about it individually, it seems like it's not a stretch. It's not like, oh my, I could definitely see that happening, based on the talent level and, all of those kinds of things. But then when you put them all together, it's like, wow, that's a lot of records that could potentially be broken in 2026. Like, what are the odds that all of those records are going to be broken? That's not what we're saying. Also, by the way, we're saying that these have an opportunity to be broken. We're not predicting that they're all going to be broken. So I do want to, put that out there. This isn't the rose-colored glasses podcast to be watching today. This is a hey, look, man, there's a lot of talent there, and Notre Dame's been playing football for a really long time, and there's a possibility that some of these records could be broken. That's the conversation. And so individually, though, there's a lot of really talented kids on this team, and with the way that Mike Denbrock is going to be calling this offense, that's how I feel things could go. You know what I mean? Like these are definite possibilities. Will they all happen? No, but man, I could see it.
I hope it's true. That's such a good point, though. It's not like we believe that all of these records will all be broken in the same season. Again, won't be upset if that happens. We insert that caveat a lot. But there's a good chance that we see multiple of these broken. Maybe not every single one that we're getting ready to talk about, but man, this is an exceptionally talented team, and one of the most talented guys coming back is the quarterback. And there's a couple of different records that I think that CJ Carr has the opportunity to break. Last year, he broke the record for passer rating in a single season, absolutely shattered it, completely shattered the record for passer efficiency rating. And I think that there's a couple of others this year that he could break, starting with completion percentage. Vince, you talked about, the kind of player he is and the elevation level of play that we believe that we're going to see from him this year. So the record in completion percentage in a season is 68.2%, which is currently held by Ian Book from that 2018 season. I think that this is something that CJ Carr could absolutely break this year.
It's definitely possible. And also Ian Book didn't play really in the first 4 games of the season, right? I mean, and so that there's a little bit of an asterisk, I guess, next to that one. But 68% is not out of the realm of possibility. I think there's going to be plenty of safe throws. We discussed, I think it was a show that Brian and I did, but we discussed the fact that because he's got it all broken down about what his percentage was behind the line of scrimmage from 0 to 5, from 5, whatever. If he just brings up his percentage of behind the line of scrimmage in the 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 or whatever it is, like his overall percentage almost goes through the roof. Like he was almost better in his intermediate throws than he was in the short throws. So I think that's a definitely attainable thing. And we all think that the wide receiving core is going to take a bit of a step in the right direction at the very least. And so he's going to be throwing to some good targets. I could see this one happening.
Yeah, I mean, he ended last year at 66.6. So we're not even talking about a crazy jump in improvement from last year to get to Ian's record of 68.2. Now, again, if he set a record of like what Julian Sayin did last year, of what he completed like 70 some odd percent of his passes for the entire season, I don't know if we're having that conversation. But I think CJ could absolutely break that one. Another one that I think that is in the realm of possibility for him to break is touchdown passes in a game. So that record is currently held by Brady Quinn at 6.
That's a lot.
This one's a little bit more of a stretch, especially when you factor in, I don't know how many second halves we're going to see CJ Carr
exactly. Yeah.
in some of these games. So this one would be very difficult to do. Like he had the opportunity to do it or come close to it, or at the very least tie it last year. When he threw for 354 yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks against Arkansas, and he didn't really throw the football a whole lot in the second half. Basically, what it would take would be for like a Marcus Freeman or a Mike Denbrock to like buy into, all right, hey, like let's prop up CJ a little bit this week and get a Heisman push or something. I think that's what it would take for him to get 7 passing touchdowns. This is a stat and a record, Vince, that I'm not going to predict that he's going to break. But if we fast forward to December, would it at all shock you? Like, would you be beside yourself if you're like, yeah, I can't believe CJ broke the passing yard or the passing touchdown record in a single game this year? It
wouldn't surprise me at all. Not even a little bit. And this also comes down to are they going to be that pass heavy, or is it just going to be a fact of like, maybe 2 or 3 of those are just a simple short pass where Jordan Faison or Mylan Graham just make a bunch of guys miss and score from 60 out. You know what I mean? It's just a little a wide receiver screen that ends up scoring, or running back swing pass that ends up scoring, which I know leads into another one we're going to talk about. But like, I could see it happening, but it's going to have to be the perfect scenario for it to happen, if that makes sense. Like, Notre Dame wants to score the ball running the football. Like they want to put running backs in the end zone, that kind of a thing. But they also need to, we've talked about this a bunch, their red zone offense just needs to be more dynamic. They need to do better with their red zone offense. Maybe that means throwing the ball a little bit more, and maybe that means that CJ Carr is going to get a few more passing touchdowns, this season, as opposed to running the football between the tackles or whatever the case may be. And so would it surprise me? No. Would I bet the farm on it? Also, no. But that's what a lot of these are. Like, would it surprise me if some of these happen? No. But they're going to be tough. Some of them are going to be tough to break. So, but this is a fun one. There's going to be a game Trev, there's going to be a game where he's got a bunch of passing touchdowns just because of the way the flow of the game went. Just a matter of will he be able to get to 6 or more.
Yeah, that's going to be the journey. I mean, look, we saw at times last year Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock lean into the Jeremiah Love Heisman hype. He didn't have to come out and rush for that additional touchdown in the second half against Syracuse. Just that you could have asked him to take his pads off at halftime if you wanted to in
yes,
that game.
100%.
And he came out and ripped off a 60-some-odd yard touchdown as kind of his, the final salute inside of Notre Dame Stadium. And so we've seen him lean into that before. As we know, CJ Carr is a favorite on FanDuel to win the Heisman Trophy this upcoming season. And I could see him leaving in CJ Carr for another quarter or another drive but you also run the risk of like all it takes is that one play.
Yep.
And the one guy that takes it upon himself to try to do something that's just not good for the game. So you run the risk of that happening. You would like to hope that there's not a lot of players in college football that would be that way.
Sure.
But if CJ Carr, for whatever reason, is left in a game in like a third quarter, I could see it being something to where, he goes into halftime with 4 or 5 touchdowns and then throws 1 or 2 in the next. But I think at the very least, I'm not willing to bet the farm that he breaks the record. I could absolutely see him tying the record.
Okay. I like it.
I think that's within the realm of possibility.
I like where your head's at.
Hey man, this is a fun but kind of difficult show for me to do because I'm also the Mr. I gotta see it guy.
Oh yeah.
And so
but we've seen a lot from CJ Carr. Like we have definitive proof that he's got the talent to put it in the end zone 6 times. Like we 100% could see that happening. Yes. So I'm with you with the see it stuff, believe me. But like a lot of my personal predictions on here are because of stuff that I have actually seen. I don't have an Ian Premer single season stat on here that I'm betting is gonna
right.
You know what I mean? Because I just don't know. I haven't seen him play a down of football. Mine are all more guys that I've seen actually do it.
I'm with you. Let's talk about the run game, Vince. We've talked a lot about passing, and don't worry, we'll come back to it. But this one actually shocked me. I want to hear from the chat real quick before I read this off. What do you guys think the single season record is for receiving touchdowns by a running back? Because when I read that number, I was like, that can't be right. And it is absolutely right. So this was one that I was looking at because I do believe that with the skill sets of like Aeneas Williams, what we've seen from Nolan James, the small sample size from what we've seen from Kedron Young in the 2025 blue and gold game where he's catching wheel routes on Madden for Amo. I think the running backs are going to be a bigger part of the pass game this upcoming season. Now, the counter to that is, well, Jeremiah Love was kind of, but not as much as we thought. He only had 280 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. But this is one where I thought it was fascinating that the all-time record at Notre Dame for receiving touchdowns in a single season by a running back is 5.
Only 5.
Only 5. I would have, just off the top of my head, I would have assumed that like Armando Allen would have had more. I thought Darius Walker in the either 05 or 06 might have potentially had more. I mean, I guess granted in those years, Mo Stovall and Samardzija and then McKnight and
but still
for mid double digit. But I just assumed over a course of a season. Yeah, the record's 5, and it's held by.
And when was it hit?
Yeah, 1953, Vince.
Yes,
1953 is when that record is broken. There's not been another running back that's. I could absolutely see Aeneas Williams breaking this record in 2026. Could absolutely see it.
Yeah, so could I. I really could because I think CJ Carr is going to have a more of a grasp of the offense, and he'll be willing to throw it to Aeneas. I mean, Aeneas is going to be in there on third down at the very least in this, and I could see him dumping it off or having. Here's the other thing I could see: Mike Denbrock having play designs to go to Aeneas Williams in the passing game. You could definitely see that being the case too. Whether it's a flag route or a swing route or a screen or whatever. Like I could definitely see him being involved in the passing game from a design standpoint, not from a dump off or check down standpoint. And so I could definitely see this one being broken. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. When I saw that it was 5, I was like, I'm shocked that hasn't been broken already.
Right.
I mean, I just would have assumed. I mean, But kind of goes back to show what my memory is I thought Jeremiah Love had more than 2, but I was like, no, he had 2 last season. So I could see Aeneas doing it this year. That wouldn't surprise me. So I know we said we'd get back to the passing game conversation here, Vince.
Yeah.
And one of them, this I could see happening, is 37 passing touchdowns in a single season. That was held by Brady Quinn in 2006.
Yep.
Set by Brady Quinn in 2006. I believe the next closest was Ian Book with 34 in 2019. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But CJ Carr, all he has to do is average 2.5 touchdown passes a game for the 15 to 16 game season. I think that's absolutely doable. I mean, we expect him to be the driver of success on this offense. To your point that you made earlier about the wide receiving core is expected to take a step up in production. I think that the 37 overall touchdown passes in a season is well within reach.
So it looks like passing touchdowns in the season there's a tie at the top. It is 37 in 2006, Brady Quinn, and then 37 in 2019 by Ian Book, and both in 13 game seasons. So they had the tie at the top, and then the next one down is 32 in 2005 by Brady Quinn. So, so to your point, that's a very breakable record. 37 is a very, very breakable record.
Is that on Notre Dame's record book?
I am looking at Notre Dame's record book on page 98.
That's interesting because in 2019, Ian Book had 34 passing touchdowns.
Well, it's the team. My bad. So it's not individual. It's team. So
Gotcha.
Somebody else must have had a couple. So I apologize. But it's still 37 is to your point. So
no, you're good. Well, because I was like, I know in 19, a couple of other quarterbacks had passing touchdowns. Like I know that for a fact. Like I remember that was the year they played New Mexico State, and like Brendan Clark got in and threw like a screen to Braden Lindsey that went for a touchdown. And so okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But yeah, like you said, point being the 37 total touchdown passes, and especially this is where the longer season comes into play. Because Brady Quinn set that record in 13 games?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a chance that CJ Carr plays 3 additional games.
Correct. Exactly correct. Yeah. And they're going to be leaning on him to score some touchdowns, obviously, from a passing standpoint. But I think 37 is absolutely in the wheelhouse of, if you would have told me that CJ Carr had 40 touchdowns, that would not surprise me in any way. I mean, when you break it down, I mean, you just got to get the old trusty calculator. I mean, let's say they play minimum of 13 games this year. That's 3 touchdowns a game. Right? I mean, that's not surprising because there'll be a game where he has 2, but there'll be a game where he has 4, and I mean, averaging out to 3 a game. And then if they play even more than that, say they play 15 games, that's 40 divided by 15. That's 2.6 a game. That's incredibly doable, So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that one could be a fun one to track as we go for sure.
Well, and you got to think, man, when I think about CJ Carr's season last year, he had 24 passing touchdowns, but he had one game against Syracuse where I think he threw 9 total passes. He had a game last year against Purdue where I think he went 10 of 12. And I think he still had 3 touchdown passes in that game. And so I see him putting up more numbers this year because I think he is going to be the driver of success.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that number is absolutely well within reach. And then the other passing one that I could see happening is the most consecutive completions in a single game. That's currently held by Everett Golson in 2014 against Syracuse. Fun fact, that game was I was at my senior year homecoming dance.
Wow.
During that game. And my date ended up leaving me that game because she wanted to be like out on the dance floor having a good time with all of our friends. And I was at the table watching the game on my phone. Because my dad texted me, he's like, dude, Everett Golson has like 19 straight completions. You're going to want to watch this. Then so I sat down and immediately started. Yeah, so that was the whole thing. She's like, all you do is care about football. And I was like, well, that's me.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
Sorry, pal. But It's gotten better now. I don't do it at weddings, but high school homecoming.
I mean, it would have been bad if you did it at your own wedding.
Sure.
That would have been not good. But hey, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, one of my best friends got married when Notre Dame played Duke in 2023, and I missed Sam Hartman's scramble on 4th and 16.
You want to hear something crazy? So, my wedding date, August 7th, 2004, is a day that goes down in Major League Baseball history because Greg Maddux won his 300th game that day. And I can tell you right now, I had my eye on the prize, which was my wife, but I also had my eye on what was going on that day over, 100%.
We were very intentional. Our wedding was a Sunday. It was the day after the Notre Dame Texas A&M game. So
I remember that actually because you were on the post-game show.
I was. Shot and believe me, I promise you, Brian or Vince were not like, you have to be on the post game. I asked to be on it because I was like, guys, like, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So,
which I totally get, by the way.
Yep. I was like, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So if I can just sit and talk ball with you guys, I'd be down to do that. But yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. Let's switch over and talk about defensive individual records that could be broken this year. This was another one that surprised me. Interceptions returned for a touchdown in a single season. That record is held by Jack Kaiser, actually. He did it in 2021. I'm sure we all remember the big pick six that he had against Wisconsin in the Soldier Field game. But then he also had another one against Georgia Tech later that year where he had, it was like a 50-some-odd yard pick six. I could also see somebody getting 3. This is a record in a 15 to 16 game season.
Yeah.
It would not shock me if we see that get broken. I mean, Breontae Johnson had one last year. Adon Schuler had like a 105-yard pick 2. Leonard Moore had a pick 6 last year. This is one that I could see getting broken this year.
There's been so many one-offs, I guess, that it's crazy that a linebacker holds this record, by the way.
Right.
Like, that part's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I remember both of them, but I would have never, like, if you'd just given me a blank slate to come up with, I don't think I would have been able to come up with that. I really don't. We've had multiple in a game, obviously. USC obviously comes to mind. There's been just a bunch of big time pick sixes, but I never would have guessed that 2 is the record. So this could be a fun one to keep track of all season because, look, I said it. Chris Ash is his focus, or part of his focus, is stopping the run. Teams are going to have to throw the football against Notre Dame. They have one of the best secondaries in the country, but teams are going to have to throw the football, and Notre Dame's going to be pulling some of those out of the air and bringing them back. And when you put the ball in their hands, some of these athletes on the back end of Notre Dame's defense, good things are going to happen. And when the 10 other guys on defense realize that they now have the ball, like, they're headhunting in a good way to block and get that guy into the end zone. So I could definitely see this one happening with the talent on the back end of Notre Dame and at linebacker for that matter. I could definitely see this one getting broken. But good on Jack Kaiser for holding this record, man. Like, that shocked me.
I know. It was Jack Kaiser was the most recent to do it. And then I also believe Julian Love in 2017 did it as well. He had a pick 6 against Brian Lewerke against Michigan State on the road. And then he had one against, what was his name? Like Ryan Finley or something at NC State that year as well. And like the whole thing about it was like he had yet to throw an interception yet that year. And Julian Love got his hands on one, but then he wasn't able to pick it off. And then later, there was like a blown play by NC State. And he rolled right and threw a pick 6 to Julian Love, and one of my favorite Mike Tirico calls inside of Notre Dame Stadium. That call was fantastic. But I believe Julian Love also did it in 2017, but I think those are the most 2 recent. I could absolutely see it happening this year, but my hot take with this is I could see it happening this year, and I don't think it's Leonard Moore. Like, I think it's either going to be Breontae Johnson, Christian Gray, or DJ McKinney.
I completely agree with you. I would put my money on Johnson, and then my second one would be Christian Gray. Like, those are my top 2 with the possibility of breaking this record for sure.
Dark horse to break that record, Dallas Golden.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I could see something to where he rotates in at either nickel or field and makes him pay for it multiple times in the same game.
Especially towards the end, yeah.
And then we know what his abilities are as a return man. I mean, in high school, he played running back. He was a returner. He played wide receiver a little bit. Like, he was all over the place. So that's my dark horse to win that one. Here's another one on defense. Tackles for loss in a single game is Jerron Jones. He holds that record with 6. Against Miami in 2016, one of the only good things that came out of that season was beating a 9-win Miami team at home just by being 4-8. That game was ugly in general.
Yeah.
But especially considering like tackles for loss also count as, or sacks also count in tackles for loss.
Sure.
I could see Boubacar or Bryce having a day. I could see Kingston Viliamasa making a couple of tackles for loss, like 3 tackles for a loss, and then just having a monster game on the edge when he's back healthy. I don't think that's crazy. What do you think about that one, Vince? 6 tackles for a loss in one game. It'd be a heck of a game.
It would be.
What do you think?
It would be. And I think if you find a run-heavy team, that could be the case. Like, of course, my first instinct was to say like Navy, but the thing about the triple option is there's not a lot of tackles for loss. Like yes, they run the ball a bunch. Yes, there's a bunch of opportunities, but they get to the line of scrimmage very quickly. Is it possible? Sure, with the pitches and some of the stuff that happens in the backfield. But yeah, when you start adding in sacks, it's a definite. Now, somebody's going to have to go off, obviously. Somebody's going to have to go off. But if you get a couple TFLs, in the first half, maybe a third, and then like the game is close enough that you still have everybody in, and they start throwing the ball, and then you get a couple of sacks. Like, it's a definite possibility. But yeah, you're right. Somebody's going to have a heck of a game. I like the the athleticism of a healthy KVA on this one. I could see a rush linebacker or a rush end being the ones to get it. I don't think you're going to see that come from like a Francis Brew or a Tion Gray or anybody in the middle. I think it's going to have to be more of a skillish type position to get it. But you're right. Somebody's going to have a day, but it could definitely happen. There's enough talent here for sure.
To your point about Navy, Notre Dame had a heck of a game against Navy last year in tackles. They got 5 tackles for a loss against Navy in 2025.
Yeah. Okay.
That ain't too bad. But to your point, though, they only had 2 in 2024. They had 5 in 23. And then in 2022, they had 4. But they also had games that year where, even in a loss, they had 9 tackles for loss as a team against Marshall. They had 8 against Cal, 9 against UNLV, 8 against Syracuse, 9 against South Carolina, 8 against USC. So to your point, Navy's just a different beast. With how fast the triple option hits, stopping him at the line of scrimmage is almost as good as a tackle for a loss.
100%. 100%. Even a 1 or 2 yard gain is still essentially a tackle for loss against any other team. You know what I mean? Because, sometimes that fullback quick hitter is just so quick. That's a quick hitter for a reason. He's 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It's boom, boom, boom. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. Navy would be tough. It'd have to be somebody else. Could it happen against a Rice, for example?
Sure.
Yeah, it definitely could. So we'll see. But yeah, if you're telling me that, Jerron Jones has this record, which obviously he does, there's plenty of guys with more talent than Jerron Jones on this defensive front, whether it's the line or linebacker. But again, you kind of have to be in the right place at the right time a little bit too. So it'll be interesting to see.
I caught a little snippet of that song. That was the "I Need a Hero" song.
That was. I was trying to. My kids were texting me, and I was like trying to get rid of them, and it backfired just a little bit.
I love it. Final one we're going to talk about on defense is sacks in a single game. This one is going to be a stretch because to break the record, Jerry Tillery holds it. He had 4 sacks against Stanford in 2018 in one game. Getting 5 sacks in a game for one individual guy that's going to be extremely difficult. Now, this defensive line has absolutely the talent to do it. Very similar to the quarterback passing record. At the very least, I could see somebody tying this record this year, but Vince, this is going to be one this one's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah. Again, this is also a kind of a be in the right place at the right time kind of a situation, you know. I feel like Notre Dame's going to rotate more this coming year than they did when Jerry Tillery was here in 2018. And so I think that's going to bring down the possibility of just being on the field enough to get 4 sacks in a game. Is there the talent to do it? Sure, of course there is. I think it's going to be tough. This one is a bit of a stretch for me. It's going to be tough. Could it happen? Sure. I just think my only issue is that they're going to rotate more often in 2026 than they did in 2018, and I just don't know if the opportunities are going to be enough and be fruitful enough to get 4. But would it surprise me? No, not really.
Vince, I'm going to let you talk about the special teams one, but this is one that I absolutely think is within the realm of possibility with Spencer Porath coming to town.
Yeah, so right now, the most extra points in a season, the record is 61, held by Spencer Schrader in 2023. And we talked earlier about the fact that we think that Notre Dame's going to break the touchdown record at Notre Dame of 72, right? Isn't that what it was? It was 72. And if that's the case, he's going to obliterate this record. Now, will there be a chance for one of the backup guys to get an extra point here or there in a blowout situation? Sure. But the last person that you take out of a game is the kicker. I mean, that's just the way it goes. It's funny. Some kids I used to coach are now adults and they're coaching and things like that. And they were coaching against my son in high school. And it was a blowout. It was Penn versus a South Bend school. I mean, it just is what it is, right? And of course, they remember Dylan when he was like the T-boy at 4 years old when I was coaching and they were playing. And so we talked, before the game, we talked after the game, and they're like, yeah, when they subbed out Dylan, we knew this one was over. Like that one, when the backup kicker came trotting on the field, we knew this one was over. So to that point, they don't sub out the kicker very often. It does happen, but he's going to be kicking the extra points for Notre Dame. And if they hit 70 to 75 touchdowns this year, he's going to have 70 to 73 of those extra points. And so he's going to obliterate this record. I have full faith in that. He hasn't missed an extra point in his collegiate career at Purdue in the first 2 years that he was there. Has not missed one. He's not going to miss one at Notre Dame either. So I feel very comfortable with that. So that's a really, really good record to come up with. But yeah, Spencer Schrader's record is going by the wayside here really, really fast.
When you're reaching into your too deep at kicker, because of injury. Oh,
that was a good. I got a good laugh out of that comment from my former player, Jack. He's like, yeah, when we saw the kicker come out, the backup. He's like, yeah, we kind of packed it in at that point. It's like, that's a good point.
Yeah, you kind of have to at that point. That is some nasty work there, Vince. That's great.
Yeah. But Spencer Schrader is a very accurate kicker. He's going to be just fine. The operation of snapper, holder, kicker, I think is going very well from some of the videos I've seen. And so, yeah, I have full faith he's going to hit all of his PATs. And Notre Dame's going to score a lot of touchdowns. They're just going to. They're going to score a lot of touchdowns. And Spencer Porath's going to have a ton of extra points. So I love it. I think that's a really good one.
Like we did in the first segment, we're going to end with one that's going to be difficult to do, but I think it would be a lot of fun to talk about. I started off the last one, Vince. What do you have for your kind of fun record?
So you had brought up earlier that the record for receiving touchdowns was 5, set way back in the 50s, and that you were surprised about that. I agreed with you wholeheartely. And it got me thinking about what is the record for receptions in general by a running back. Now, that's a more recent record that was set. It was set in 2006 by Brady Quinn to Darius Walker with 56. So he had 56 receptions. Now, that's a good number. That's a big number. And this exercise is one that we don't think will be broken, but we wouldn't be surprised if it did. It's this one for Aeneas Williams. I think that receptions out of the backfield are going to be a big time piece of this offense, especially when 22 is on the field. And I think that we've all seen, we talked about, we're show me guys. We got to see it first. We've seen Aeneas Williams catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's very, very good at it. And so I think that's going to be part of the offense. And so when you break it down to, how many receptions, see, I did it again when I opened it up, trying to get to my calculator. When you look at, what that would be in a 12-game season, it's 4.5 receptions a game in the regular season. I could see him getting 5 catches a game, you know what I mean, out of the backfield. And then if you extend that out, obviously, into the postseason, I think that there's even more of a possibility of that happening. So it's lofty. There's a lot that would need to happen for that to occur. But I think if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Aeneas Williams.
I like that. That's super lofty. Adding some context, Notre Dame hasn't had a pass catcher with over 50 receptions since Michael Mayer did it in 2022.
Yeah, I'm aware.
So, but I like that, Vince. That's gutsy. I like that. Mine is also in the pass game. I think that there's going to be a receiver this year that ties and or breaks Chase Claypool or Maurice Stovall's receiving touchdowns in a single game. So Chase Claypool tied Mo Stovall's record in 2019 when he had those 4 touchdown catches against Navy. And Maurice Stovall set the record, I believe, in BYU against BYU in 2005. And those are 2 opponents that Notre Dame plays this year. So I could see a wide receiver. I don't know who yet. Just because Salty is in the chat, I'll say Jaden Greathouse. But I could see a wide receiver catching 4 to 5 touchdowns in a game this year. Just, they randomly catch fire. Because here's the thing, like, that's what's fun about talking about these records is you don't go in and expect it to be broken. You know what I mean? Like, that's what makes it fun to talk about. They didn't 100%. Go into Navy saying, all right, Chase, I hope you're ready to catch 4 touchdowns.
Right.
They didn't go in against BYU and Charlie Weiss wasn't like, all right, Mo, I hope you're ready to set a Notre Dame record today. But I could see it. I could absolutely see it, especially if CJ Carr is going to have a shot at breaking the all-time passer or passing touchdowns record in a single season or in a single game this year. A wide receiver is going to have to do it or at least play a big part of it. So I'm going with that one, man. But
dig it.
All in all, there are some gaudy records in that stat book, bro. Gaudy.
Yeah, and look, this offense and this defense have the ability to break some records, and we just found some of them. They're going to break some that we've never heard of. That always happens. Especially when you have a sports information department as big as Notre Dame's. They find some obscure stats that you can break and things of that nature, and they're going to break a bunch. This is just a handful of ones that we found that we thought might be fun to talk about. Are they going to break all these records? No, they're not going to break all these records, but we're going to have a lot of fun sitting back over the next 12 games plus. I'll say 12 games plus, watching them get close to or breaking a bunch of these records. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. You're going to see some fireworks on offense, and you're going to see I think you're going to see a nasty defense just running all over the field, just creating havoc.
Vince, we have a daily mailbag to take us the rest of the way here on the Irish Breakdown podcast, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, this does happen to be your first ever mailbag because we have new daily listeners every single day. What you can do is you can put MB for mailbag, or you can put a mailbox emoji prior to your submission. Lets us know to set that question aside. Now, typically when we have a daily mailbag at the end of the show, we prefer questions geared towards the topics that we talked about. We really only talked about one topic today, and that was different records to be broken. So if you find a record that we didn't talk about that you want to get our thoughts on, throw that in the chat. I think that'd be great. Let us know your thoughts on some of the records. But it is also Friday. And I know we did a full free-for-all mailbag yesterday, but if you got questions that you want answered about Notre Dame football, about college football, send it our way because the rest of the show is dedicated to answering our daily listeners' questions, which is something that we love to do. So we're going to get started off here today with a super chat from our guy, Anthony Solomon.
Anthony Solomon, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate you being around and throwing us a super chat. He just says simply, thanks for the show, gentlemen. You're welcome. You are very welcome. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes right now with the magazine and, everything that's going on. We had a big meeting yesterday about some formatting stuff, and it's getting closer and closer, man. We're very excited about it, but we don't just work in the time that we have allotted here for the show. We are here before, we are here after, and we are reading, we are writing, we are doing all the things. And this is almost like an escape to a bit of a degree. And so we appreciate you appreciating us, Anthony.
Kind of along the lines of that, our guy Salty asks, what is your update on the IB preseason magazine? What is remaining to do? When do you think it'll go live?
It's a great question. I don't have all of those answers. I know we're basically down to the formatting and proofreading stages of the magazine. Just want to make sure we're sending out a good product. The look of it, the content of it, we don't want it to sound like a 5-year-old wrote it, obviously. So we want to make sure that it sounds good. We want to make sure that it looks good, all of those things, and accurate. That's a kind of an important one as well, so there's a lot of research that goes into it. So we're in the formatting stage. I would imagine, and now I'm not the boss, but I would imagine the goal is to have it out before practice starts next week. But I don't want to put that in in pen, because I'm not the boss. I'm not the one that says, let's publish this sucker right now. Hopefully before then. But I think that's like the penciled in goal. Trav, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely before fall camp starts, and that's next week. So clock is ticking, but we have a lot of it done. Like Vince said, we had a great formatting meeting yesterday, and it's a lot that goes into it, believe us. But I can assure you, the final product will not disappoint. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I completely agree with that. I've got it up right now, and it's a good looking product, man. It is a good looking product, and it is the blood, sweat, and tears of literally everybody that has anything to do with Irish Breakdown. So
absolutely.
John A1, would you support or oppose the computer rankings becoming the system for playoff selection?
I would oppose it. Here's where I think that you need to use some sort of computer rankings and then let a committee dictate how it should fall. Because at the end of the day, rankings can go and dive into stats, but they can't go and watch the games. Where I think computer rankings would be helpful is, unlike last season, computer rankings are going to be able to sit there and say, hey, look, these are our metrics. We check out, we look at the FPI, we look at the average margin of victory against ranked opponents, and then that's how we formulate our rankings. Last year, obviously, that didn't work out to Notre Dame's favor, because at the end, Hunter Eurocheck, the committee chair, was like, well, we felt, or it looked, or it whatever, right? And they threw out all the metrics that said Notre Dame should have been in the college football playoff. So I understand a lot of Notre Dame fans especially saying, well, you might as well just go back to the BCS model and let computers rank it because of the stats. Well, the next time that Notre Dame doesn't have the backings of an FPI or an SOS or anything like that, but then you're like, well, just watch the games. We need to get rid of the computer rankings because, you take out all subjectivity on the matter. And so I think you need both. I think the computer rankings help you analyze and give a statistical breakdown, but you also need people to help interpret what those numbers mean and to be able to watch some of the football games. And that's where I'm at with this one, Vince. There's no perfect system, but I would not replace the committee with computers.
No, it's not a complete replacement. I would not want that at all. I would be okay with it being part of the equation, obviously. And I think the computers do give data points to the committee and things like that. But at the end of the day, look, Notre Dame got screwed. We all can agree on that, but it is what it is. Don't put yourself in that position, and then it won't happen again. And so, I didn't I'm actually okay with Notre Dame missing the playoff. I just don't like the manner in which it happened. Like, if they had ranked Miami ahead of Notre Dame 4 weeks prior, then I think we all would have known what was coming. You know what I mean? And so I get it. I understand you want computers involved, and I'm cool with that. But I think it needs to be part of the conversation, not the entire conversation. Don't leave it all up to the computers, but don't also all leave it up to the committee. I think there's a fine line in there someplace. But I would not want to reply. The BCS I didn't like it at all. I don't want to go back to that.
No, I mean, Brian has listed off several examples of where the BCS botched the rankings as well. But I'm with you. I mean, when we would do like kind of reaction shows following up like rankings in November when they would come out. And I remember we were all having a discussion. It was kind of like a debate. It was I forgot who posted on the show, but it was like, hey, I think the question now is just is Notre Dame on the road or do they host? And I was like, guys, I don't think it's that clear cut. Like I think they're going to be on the road. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I called it. I knew ESPN was going to rig the rankings and Hunter Yurachek was going to turn into a clown by the end. But I was also not in the camp that was like, oh, they're either on the road or at home, depending on how they finish. Like I thought they were going to be on the road. I did not see them being left out. I really didn't. Really did not. A lot of my friends will still send me clips from our live Selection Sunday reaction of when Alabama came in at 9th. I'm like, thank you for that. I needed that reminder today. I appreciate the pick me up. But yeah, man, it was tough. It was tough for sure.
Just Your Ordinary Joe, bold prediction, record-breaking related. The most spirited and entertaining rant of the 26th season on the IB podcast will not be Brian. That is a bold prediction.
I was about to say, I think that's emphasis on bold.
Yeah, that's a bold prediction. Now, there are certainly times where Trevor and I are more passionate about a topic or about something that has occurred, and Brian has to tell us to like chill a little bit. But like, no one has the unique ability to rant the way Brian does from a length standpoint. So I don't know that anybody can touch Brian from a rant standpoint. I just don't. Now, you've seen me be plenty passionate when it comes to a Notre Dame loss or a topic when it comes to Notre Dame or any of those kinds of things. I just don't think I have it in me to do like a 25-minute rant. Like that's a unique skill set that Brian has that I don't think is going to be touched by anybody. That's like Hall of Fame type stuff.
Yeah, there are some topics that I can't. I mean, full transparency, like good or bad. Obviously, we are a family-friendly show, and when I get super passionate about things, like there was if you go back and watch the December 7th selection show, there's a reason why I took a minute to talk. Like there was a point in the show where Brian tried to kick it to me and I just didn't say anything because I was going to say things to make this not a family-friendly show. That is one of the most impressive things about the rants that Brian goes on is he's able to keep it PG the entire time. That is a craft that I'm absolutely continuing to work on because this is still in the grand scheme of a career new for me. But there are definitely topics that can get me fired up. Believe me. I mean, I could sit and talk about how much I don't like USC until Lauren gets home here in 4 hours. I could talk about a lot, but Brian's rants are electric. I mean, people are like, you do such a good job, like letting him get through it all. It's like, brother, I'm listening too. Like
we're being entertained as well. Believe me.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Just Your Ordinary Joe. Like, come on, Trev, you've got to get into it and take Brian on in a rant. I can't take Brian.
Nobody can. That's taking on the champ, man. Like that's a tough call. That's a tough call right there for sure.
Yeah, that'd be difficult to do.
Yeah, 100%. Fighting Irish Warrior, do you have any personal game day traditions? Anything that you do that makes you feel heroes the outcome of the game, even though we know it doesn't matter? I have stand and pace the entire time.
This one's tough. I have a couple of game trade traditions. Mine are I think I talked about it. Actually, I think with Vince on one of the last shows that we did. So at the start of every season, I go to Yankee Candle and they sell this. It's like called a Lucky Shamrock candle, and it just smells like grass. So I buy one of those at the start of every season. My thought was, if Notre Dame wins a national title, I'll continue burning that candle into the next season. But if they don't win a national title, you should have seen what I did to the candle that I bought after the 25 season when they were snubbed for the playoffs. It was no longer a candle.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't good news. But so I'll go and buy a candle. Every game day morning, I go and get a lift in. Feel like it's the least that I could do. The boys are getting ready to prepare for battle, so let me at least go get a game day lift.
You got to get swole.
Yep. I just got to feel like I did something to prepare. And then good breakfast. I wake up Lauren every morning I'm shipping up to Boston by the Dropkick Murphys.
That's my favorite one, I think. you just ticking off your wife first thing in the morning. Like
Yep.
that. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't tick her off, but I'm sure she's not. She's like, oh my God, again.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that being the case. Yeah.
Yep. And then about an hour before the game, I kind of lock in, go through like a little visualization process. Now it's a little bit different because like this is now my job. And so it's now
Yes.
before games, like I'm making sure that the how to watch article is up. I have my spreadsheet ready because
Yeah.
I like to track plays in games. It gives me a reference point for the post game
Sure.
shows.
Yep.
Comes off a little bit better when I can reference that spreadsheet than just, oh, you remember that play? Man, that was so cool. Like it helps me go back and watch certain things. But I'm with you, Fighting Irish Warrior. I stand. The bigger the game, I stand more. I'd be lying if I said last year I stood for the same amount against Texas A&M as I did for Syracuse. But I'm definitely big with standing. And then I have like a towel. Like I have the playoff towel, the rally towels that they handed out for the Indiana playoff game. I have that. I'm walking around with it. I'm like throwing it, or I'm if I think that there's a flag that the refs didn't call, that should have gone in Notre Dame's favor.
You'll do
I'll
it
throw
for
the
them.
yellow.
Yeah, you do it for
Yeah.
them.
So it's a lot of that. What about you, Vince?
Yeah, I mean, now I've been working Notre Dame games for over 20 years now, so it's hard for me to come up with many routines. You know, obviously, I go to my son's games usually on the same day as a Notre Dame game, so my focus is there, and then my focus is on Notre Dame. When I'm at games at Notre Dame, Brian and I always go out to the balcony and watch the first couple of series. That's always a good time. We always have fun doing that, just to kind of get the atmosphere and the feeling of the game. We did that. We've done it for a while now. We've done it for a few years now. We did it for the IU game, obviously. We were out there for the Syracuse game, how that one started out, just to get a feel for it, because they have little transom windows in the press box that are probably 2 feet by 6 inches that they pop open. So you can kind of hear the crowd, but you don't really get a good feeling of what the crowd is like. And so we go out on the balcony before every game. And so that's all. That's kind of my game day tradition. I wear the same thing generally every time I go to a Notre Dame game nowadays. I got my IB polo, I got my jeans on, and I'm ready to go. It's my game day fit, if you will. Post game shows, I like wearing the icy white IB hat. I got a brand new one because my old one was just like soaked in sweat stains and things. So it was time to upgrade. And so I haven't even worn it yet. I'm waiting until the season. So this is my post-game hat that I always put on. So that's a bit of a tradition, I suppose. I used to, and I think I told you this the last time we did this question, back in the old press box. So before the Crossroads project, they used to have Porta Pit chicken, Nelson's Porta Pit chicken up in the press box.
Oh, I miss Nelson's. It's so good.
And first of all, it's the best thing that they could ever have. Now they've gone all fancy and stuff. They had a dude up there with a cooler of Nelson's chicken, bunch of half chickens just in the cooler. He had a big old glove on, and you just walk up there with the plate. He reaches in, he pulls it out, puts it on your plate, and you just go to town on a Nelson's half chicken. I used to force myself to wait until Notre Dame scored a touchdown before I would allow myself to eat the Nelson's chicken. And I can tell you, there were games back in the day during the Tyrone Willingham years and a little bit of the Charlie Weiss years. And, I was getting hangry there for a minute. And so Stiers used to make fun of me all the time. He's like, go get your chicken. Like, I can't get my chicken.
Vince, they didn't score an offensive touchdown in 2007 until like the third game against.
Yeah, I was chickenless. Trevor. Was not good.
Dude, that's so funny. I could just picture you sitting up in the press box, just all mad, just kind of hunched over. But how you doing, Vince? Fine.
Just ticked off.
We're fine.
It's a good thing that I spoke on the pregame show and not the postgame show back then. So, yeah, that is.
My goodness.
So yeah, those are my traditions, I suppose. When I used to love walking through campus on game days, especially like in October. Somebody would be playing the Rudy music out of their dorm room, that kind of stuff. Like, I love walking through campus. When I was a student at Holy Cross, you walk across and you have to walk through campus to get to the stadium and sit in the student section and all that. That was the best. I used to love walking through campus on a beautiful day. Don't get to do that as much as I used to. They used to park the media, by the way, over by the library when there was the library lot. Used to park over there, and so you'd have to walk through campus to get to the stadium. So I got a little bit of that then, but they have buildings there now. So I have to walk through the tailgating, which is a tease because you can't properly tailgate and then go to work. Like that doesn't really mesh.
Agreed.
So I walk around the outside because I don't like to be teased.
Smart.
Yeah.
Facilitate said, quote, I just want a touchdown so I can get my chick in.
Facilitate, you're not wrong, dude. Like I had a lot invested in those teams back then.
That's so funny, man. The only other tradition I have, it's not game day, season tradition. The Saturday before opening weekend for Notre Dame, I always watch Rudy.
Nice.
Always.
I can recite the entire movie. That's how much I love that movie.
I love it.
Yeah. Joseph Parr, is Shrewsbury going to get some of that $20 million so that men's basketball finally becomes watchable again and doesn't lose their best players to Indiana and Tennessee?
Well,
that's a good question.
I can't answer the second part of that. Basketball, if some of you think that, rightfully so, that football NIL is out of control, basketball NIL is crazy because they're not dealing with rosters of 105. They're dealing with rosters of like 15. Mm-hmm. I mean, the amount of money floating around college basketball is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Now, yes, to answer your first part question, the first part of the question here, Joseph, yes, Shrewsbury will get some of that $20 million. Now, I believe it's up to like Pete Pavakwa and like some of the GMs, like Mike Martin, GM for men's and women's basketball, to sit down and see how that gets divided. I think if they're smart, they give a little. I don't think they would split it all evenly across all of their sports because fact of the matter is, football and women's basketball, men's lacrosse, fencing, programs like that, I think are the closest to winning a national title.
And I don't think all of those sports are getting NIL, if I'm being honest. Like I just don't. Right. They're getting profit sharing, I would imagine, but I don't think they're getting NIL. So, yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Exceptionally tough.
So from what I was able to understand, the basketball NIL was about $4 million last year. I think it's up to about 6 this year. Just to put that into context, my sources tell me that Marcus Burton got 6 to go to IU. So
there you go.
Notre Dame's pretty far off from competing and making it watchable, just to be honest with you. And they're going to have to at least double what they're currently giving basketball. And that's just the men's side. I don't know what they give the women's side. It's less than the men. I'm sure of that. But they're going to have to at least double it in order to make them in any way competitive in the ACC. I just, for whatever reason, it's not a priority. Everybody suckles off the teat of football, which I totally understand. And so they're all in on football winning a national championship. And that makes sense. The water raises all ships kind of a deal. And that's what football is. And maybe once they do that, they'll start giving more money to other sports. But as of right now, they're all in on football, man. And that's just the way that it is. So here you go, Shrewsbury. You got $6 million. Do the best you can. See what you got.
Yep. 100%. We'll see, man. I mean, sometimes what I would like to do last season, because sometimes it's fun. Okay, let me rephrase this. I don't want to call it fun. Sometimes it's interesting when the team is as bad as the men's basketball team and you log into something like FanDuel and see like what the odds are for Notre Dame to like cover.
Yeah.
Like those are fun bets to put in from time to time. I would also be lying if I said that made it watchable because it's tough. But I'm with you. There's a lot of legwork to be put in before they start losing their best players to some of the other top programs. But again, it's just men's basketball for whatever reason. It's just not a top priority. I'm with you, Ben.
Yeah. I like somebody in the chat said, if IU can do it, why can't Notre Dame? They can do it. They have chosen not to. For whatever reason, they've chosen not to. I don't know the reason why. I'm not in on those meetings. I don't know the answer to that. And maybe somebody like Tom Noy knows the answer better than I do. He's the basketball beat writer for the South Bend Tribune. He's been doing it forever. maybe he knows better than I do, and he hints around at it when we talk. But they choose not to. And that's just where we are right now. And good luck watching basketball, I guess is the best way to put it. Now, the women's team, obviously, NIL isn't as big of a thing on the women's side as it is on the men's side. And so the women are able to compete and put a roster together. Now, last year was tough, obviously, but like this year, bunch of new faces, a bunch of talent. They're able to compete and put together a competitive roster. Men's basketball is just not that right now. Salty Virginia Peanuts. Which Notre Dame record do you consider to be the most within reach for this year's team?
Especially of the ones that we talked about, I would say the total touchdowns in a season. Yeah. They scored 72 in 2024. They scored 70 last year in 12 games. You add in 3 to 4 more games, I would have to imagine that they would score 3 more touchdowns if they played 3 to 4 more games. So I would say that one is probably the most in reach.
For me, and I know this is going to shock everybody who is a loyal listener to Irish Breakdown, I think it's the extra point record. They're which goes along with the touchdown record. Like they're kind of one and the same.
Well, absolutely. And to your point, I mean, on paper, they don't even have to break the touchdown record to break the extra point record.
It's a good point.
So, I mean, Mitch Jeter would have had a heck of an opportunity to do it in 2024 if he didn't get hurt.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. And if they had talent last year and didn't get hurt, there was injuries obviously as well, they could have broken it last year. And so, knock on wood, Spencer Porath is healthy all year. He shatters that record of 61. Just absolutely shatters it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm with you. Now, for this one, Vince, I'll read this one, get your thoughts on it first. We have to insert a little bit of a caveat here. Which Notre Dame record do you consider to be the most out of reach for this year's team? Let's remove the records that were set pre-World War II out of this conversation, because there's a laundry. They're not getting through the season allowing 0.0 points per game. If they do, then I'm going to start getting my ring sized in November. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I do.
Let's take that out of the equation. The most out of reach for this year's team, I would, off the top of my head, I would probably say Julius Jones Jr.'s single game rushing record of 262 yards in a single game rushing. Is it possible? Yes. But out of reach, man, if Jeremiah Love wasn't going to do it last year against USC where he had 228 yards, I just don't see Aeneas or Kedron, because I think, one, it's going to be more by committee this year. And two, I think they're going to use a deeper rotation. In the same vein of, I don't know how much we're going to see CJ Carr in the second half of games. I also don't know how much we're going to see Aeneas Williams, who, has had that elbow injury the last 2 camps. I don't know how much we're going to see Kedron in the second half of games coming off of an ACL. So I think the carries are going to be a little bit more dispersed. So I think that record off the top of my head would be pretty tough for this team to beat this year.
I'm going a different direction. I'm going to go with the passing game. There's a record that has lasted since November 28, 1970, and that's Joe Theismann's single season passing yards at Southern Cal. Of 526. That's a lot of passing yards. Number one, I don't see CJ Carr being in any game long enough to get over 500 yards passing. I just don't see that being the case with the schedule that they've got. And then when they get into the playoff, the competition won't really allow them to get over 500 yards. And they're more balanced than that. They're going to have rushing yards. And so the closest anybody's ever come to that was Jack Cohn, believe it or not, at Oklahoma State in the bowl game. He had 509. Those are the only 2 500-plus yards per game or in a game that Notre Dame has ever had in their history. 509, Jack Cohn, 526, Joe Theismann. Next closest was Brady Quinn against Michigan State in 2005. So there are only 11 times in Notre Dame history that they've had a passer go over 400 yards in a game. 11 times. That's not very many for as many times as Notre Dame has taken the field, to play the game of football. So 11 times they went over 400. I don't see CJ Carr going over 5 to break that record. So
that would be very difficult. I'm with you.
ND Wine and Cheese. Why does it always feel like having a powerful run game and an elite wide receiver play at Notre Dame are mutually exclusive? When was the last time you can truly say we had both?
Probably 2018 and then probably 2015. I mean, Miles Boykin and Chase Claypool were fantastic wide receivers, especially when Ian Book got inserted into the starting lineup. That back shoulder to Miles Boykin was next to unstoppable. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. And I mean, with that offensive line, once Dexter Williams got inserted, that was an exceptional run game. So I would probably say 18. So we are coming up, to your point here, ND Wine and Cheese, we're coming up on a decade of that being true. And then 2015, I mean, when your duo, and this is with Tari and Folston getting hurt, when your 1-2 punch was CJ Procise and a true freshman Josh Adams with Will Fuller on the perimeter, that was probably, if people don't want to accept the premise of 2018, which there's a debate to be had there, I would go 2015 was the last time they had elite wide receiver play and a powerful run game. It's probably where I would go.
Yeah, I dig that. I think that's good.
Because to your point, ND Wine and Cheese, like that's really the last time they had both. Because it does feel like in 2017, I would hesitate. It's tough to say the wide receiver play wasn't elite because they also had Miles Boykin and Chase Claypool on those teams, but then they also had Equinemius St. Brown. It's just, I don't think the quarterback play was where it needed to be for those receivers. The run game was certainly elite in 2017. In 2020, I would hesitate to say it was a powerful run game or elite wide receiver play. 21, in times you saw elite wide receiver play, but that was more dictated by the level of opponent than what it was. And then the run game with Tony Jones Jr. was very good. I would hesitate to call it a powerful run game. So, yeah, I would say 15 or 18.
Dig it.
Got one in here from Ball Peen Shillelagh.
All right. If what we know of the wide receivers now stays the same, except that we see wide receivers running routes with intensity, even when they're not the first read, how does that impact your expectations for the offense?
Not too much, because my expectations for this year's offense are already high. The biggest change that I want to see with the wide receiver core is their ability to fight for contested catches. Like, firing off the line of scrimmage consistently is something that I would like to see, but I think with Jaden Greathouse coming back and being healthy, Jordan Faison coming back and fully focusing, and just overall the depth of the room is better than where it was at last year. One of the reasons why there was a lack of consistency coming off the line is we'd watch Jordan Faison or Malachi Fields run a go route and then just jog back to the line of scrimmage and get lined up for the next play. I don't think they have to do that this year. Where I want to see this unit get better from top to bottom is consistently fighting for the football. Because right now, the only player that I know that will consistently do that on a game-to-game basis is Jaden Greathouse, and he had 4 catches last year. So that's where I want to see them improve. If that area improves, Ballpeen, then my expectations for this offense raise up a little bit. What about you, Vince?
Yeah, I'm my expectations are pretty high for the offense because I think that they are going to do all the things that Ballpeen, brought up. And so I think Mike Brown's doing a very good job with the wide receivers right now. We saw evidence of that in the spring. I'm not really worried about them taking plays off. Now, look, everybody's going to take a play off. That's going to happen. But as a group, I'm not really worried about that anymore. That was a worry that we had, with the last wide receiver coach, with some other groups, things like that. I feel very good about what this wide receiving room is going to do. And I feel like they are going to run hard, whether they're the first read or not, because they've got a quarterback who's not just going to go to the first read, and they're going to see that in practice. That was part of the issue with wide receiving cores not running full out all the time if they weren't the first read, because they knew the quarterback wasn't going to throw in the football. You're always a possibility of getting the football when CJ Carr has the ball in his hand. So I think that almost automatically forces these guys to run hard. So my expectations are high because I think they're going to do all of these things.
With you completely.
Archer, JD Pickle has Notre Dame going 11-1, losing to Miami, the 7th seed in the college football playoff, beating IU in round 1 at home again. That would be great. And losing to eventual champ Oregon in round 2. Would that season be a failure?
I know failure is a strong word, but to me, yes. I think anything short of the college football playoff semifinals would deem this a failure. I understand losing in round 2 to the eventual champs, but Notre Dame has the opportunity this year to be the champs. They have one of the best odds on FanDuel to win the national title this upcoming season. And I know that's obviously not the end all be all for a team's championship odds, but look, let's play out this scenario. They would have lost to the best teams that they would have played. I think that's a failure for what this roster is, what this coaching staff is, and what the preseason expectations are for this team. If you're not able to beat Miami and you lose to Oregon, what are you hanging your hat on? You beat IU at home? You've already done that. And you didn't beat the IU team with Fernando Mendoza and Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. and Mikel Kamara and D'Angelo Pons. And so what exactly would you be hanging your hat on? Road win over BYU? Senior day versus SMU. I just don't know what we would be able to look to say, no, that season wasn't a failure, barring a barrage of injuries where it's just like, this just wasn't the same team that it was in the preseason. But outside of inserting that caveat, yes, I believe that this season would be a failure because I think anything short of the CFP semifinals would be, in a year where they were ravaged by injuries, they made the national title game. Now, the outlook of college football in general was different that year. But in short, yes, Archer, I do think that would be a failure.
I agree. It is a failure. And I would almost, depending on how they play and the competition that they go up against, I'm almost sitting here thinking it's a failure if they don't go to the national championship game. That's kind of where I'm at. I just, semifinals I get, Final Four, that's huge. Maybe there's a team out there that's just better.
That's why I say semifinals. Yeah. There's a world. I use this analogy all the time. I have to imagine that Alabama in 2019 looked at their roster and said, we got Tua back, Najee Harris.
Sure.
Our wide receiving core is Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and Jalen Waddle. Our offense and defensive lines are loaded with NFL draft picks. Our 2 starting corners are Trayvon Diggs and Pat Surtain, our starting strong safeties, Jordan Battle. I have to imagine they looked at their roster and were like, okay, we got to shore up these areas, but we should also, it's not championship or bust, but they also expected to do it. And then LSU 2019 became a thing. So to your point, Vince, there's a world where there's just a team that's better. That's why I say semifinals, but I would be heavily disappointed if they didn't play for a title this year. I'm with you definitely on that front.
Yeah. And I just, in this particular, scenario, if Notre Dame loses to Oregon, I don't think Oregon's that team. I know they got a good roster. I know they got all these things. I'm just not a believer in Dan Lanning. I think they can be out physicaled at the end of the day, and I would be very, very disappointed if they ended up losing to Oregon. I would be. That would be a very disappointing season.
Agreed. I watched Marcus Freeman and that staff out coach Kirby Smart.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm with you there. Jason Rose, Georgia lost a running back to injury to a UTV accident. That sounds familiar. It's becoming a common thing. Do you think there should be things in these deals that players sign that prohibit these things like NFL contracts? Yep, 100%. Absolutely, no question about it. If I'm paying you $1 million, you're not riding an ATV over 4th of July. It's just not going to happen. And if you do, you don't get the money. Yes. Look, as much as it is, oh man, these are kids, let them go out and have fun and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. I get that. But it's also a business. They are now transacting in a business environment. And I have no problem with schools trying to protect their investment. No problem with that. I really don't. If you want to be treated like a kid and not get paid, then go out and have a great time. But if you want to get paid, then you need to be careful. I just, that's the way I'm at. That's where I'm at as a fan. That's where I'm at if I work for the school. If my kid was offered $1 million, to go play someplace, I wouldn't let him get on an ATV. Like, I wouldn't, even if it was in the contract or not, I wouldn't let him do something like that. I don't want to say something stupid because people love doing that kind of stuff. But I would not put him in a position to hurt himself in that regard. So I think that absolutely, that would be okay for me.
I'm torn because I agree with everything that you said, but we're also talking about 18 to 22-year-olds.
Sure.
And so now here's my internal struggle. When you go and play college football, you make the sacrifice to, like, hey, your summers aren't dedicated to, going to Florida and taking vacations, and it's dedicated to football. It's, there's decisions that you have to make. So in this current landscape of college football, I'm erring more on the side of what you just brought up, but it is difficult to be like, yeah, no, like you kind of have to grow up a little bit sooner and not go and enjoy some of those things. But when you start talking about if you're going to accept that kind of money, it's kind of the stipulation that you got to be in. So yeah, it's tough, but for their safety, for the investment of, yeah, I would probably say prohibit things like that.
It's tough, right? I mean, look, my son is on like a 95% scholarship to a private institution. It's a lot of money that they've invested in him, but it's not just the football team. It's also academic. It's also some scout, like it's a lot of different things. And there's no provisions in there that says he can't be a dumbass and do something stupid. Like there's nothing in there, but it's a huge investment in these kids. And he's just a one of 100 and whatever, you know what I mean, on a roster. And so, I think it's like understood that you're not supposed to go out there and do something dumb, but it's not in a contract. Like he's not going to lose his scholarship, but he's also not making money on top of his scholarship either. So I think that's where you also kind of like it. I don't know, Trevor, like 10 years ago, if there was, there's no NIL, there's no nothing like that. And it's just scholarship money. Now at Notre Dame, that's a lot of money. But it's just a scholarship. I have an argument as to whether there should be stipulations in there about what you can and can't do. But now you're getting a scholarship and you're getting paid on top of that. Now we've crossed over to the business side of things. But again, as a parent, I just wouldn't let my kid do something like that as much as I could possibly control it. He's still his own man. He still does his own thing. But we're not going whitewater rafting or ATVing anytime soon, So anyway, I don't want to beat that dead horse.
Well, I get it. Like, here's the issue, and like, there's a conversation going on in the chat, and it's fair. But like, look, we're getting real loose with when we're willing to refer to college athletes as kids, and when we're willing to refer to them as adults. Like, it's the second we bring up, well, then just make them employees. Well, they can't; they're just kids. But then when we start talking about money and UTVs, it's like, oh, they're adults; they can make those decisions. It's like we got to pick one. Like that's where I'm at with this. Like, yes, I agree. Like you can take that sacrifice for 4 years and do it after. But like, dude, I'm 29. I can't tell you the last time I rode an ATV. It certainly wasn't after 22.
Right.
Like that's where we're at with this. I think we have to be able to decide whether it's like they can't be kids in one conversation and then just full grown adults in the other conversation.
Look, you'll be here in this world in like 18 years when your child crests over that magic birthday of 18, where he acts exactly the same as he did when he was 17 and 364 days, but still considered a child. My kid's 19. He makes some very adult decisions. He also makes some very dumbass child decisions too. It's like you remember when you were 18 and 19 and 20 and things like that. And so I did not make great decisions when I was that age. I'm sure you didn't as well, but you probably also made some very mature decisions. So it's a tough needle to thread, right?
Always is.
They can go fight for the country, as they say. They can go fight for the country, but they can't have a drink.
Right. They can fight for they can fight for it, but can't rent a car.
Right. Exactly.
It's weird.
It's a weird place to be, and they're on their own, but not really. You're still on my insurance, like I don't know. It's just a weird dichotomy of life at that point. And so, yes, they are adults, but they also act like children because they're not far from being a child. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I could go rant about that all day long. Sean Stewart, with Notre Dame signing with SoFi, and if they were to sign with other brands, why would they even think about joining a conference?
Well, Sean, I don't think they are.
Right.
Like that's the thing. I mean, brand deals with SoFi or other brands are not like SoFi is not the first brand that Notre Dame has signed with.
Not
Like
at all.
They have sponsorship deals with Coca-Cola. They have sponsorship deals. I mean, obviously with Under Armour. It's
Xerox, Gatorade, like
NBC.
Just like, watch a Notre Dame broadcast. They rattle through the major sponsors, and that all goes toward NIL. All of it. They all have different deals in different ways. They give guys internships. They, give them money. They do all kinds of different stuff. There's all kinds of different things out there. Obviously, you're looking at Black Irish, aren't you? Yeah. He says not liking Rocky movies was a bad decision, Vince. That's fair. That's fair. I still got that in my Rolodex of things to do before I go back to school. But no, I mean, the initial question is absolutely accurate. Notre Dame will do everything in their power to remain financially solvent, and they just proved it that they can make a $20 million deal and stay financially solvent. Like, that's never going to be a problem. They made the same deal that the entire Big 12 made. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know.
Agreed.
Patrick McGrain. Could any of the coaches break Kelly's record of purplest face blowout? That's untouchable, my friend.
No. Like in the line of like Brian Rance of untouchableness, I just that's up there with it. Now, I hate to hesitate to put Brian Kelly anything, Brian Driscoll anything in like the same level of, but in this context, it's just kind of one of those untouchables. I just don't know if it's. I think they would sooner. I think Notre Dame's coaching staff right now, as a team, I think they would sooner score 142 points in a game than have a coach get to that level of purpleness in the face.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more. MBDT reality or realty. Do people not think 2025 was elite wide receivers? Fields, Faison, Raridan are all high draft picks, right?
Well, I don't know if Jordan Faison is going to be a high NFL draft pick. But no, do people not think the 25 receivers were elite? I can't speak for other people. I don't think they're elite.
I don't think so either.
Like, they were good, but I don't know if Malachi Fields putting up a 600-yard receiving year I would consider elite. I just – were they good? Yes. Like, again, we have to be willing to have a conversation between were they good? Yes. Were they elite? No. Were they bad? No.
No. Yeah, no.
But it's not always a conversation of like they're either top 10 or they suck, or they're elite or they suck, or they're generational or they suck. So no, Notre Dame's 2025 wide receivers were not elite. It's one of the reasons why we're excited about this year, because I think the depth of talent in the room dictates that. But I mean, being a high draft pick also doesn't say whether or not that you're like overall elite. It's a pretty good indication at the college level, I will say, but I also don't even know if Jordan Faison's going to be a high NFL draft pick. Some of that's going to depend on how this season goes for him and how he's going to test.
A lot is going to ride on this season. And he has another season that he can come back to, by the way, and still play another year thanks to the 5 for 5. But look, and it says, elite wide receivers. Well, Eli Raridan is not a wide receiver. He's a tight end. And we're talking about the wide receiver room. So you kind of, is he a pass catcher? Yes. He went in the third round. Malachi Fields went in the third round. I wouldn't call those high NFL picks. That's still a day 2 situation. I see your point, but they were not elite. They were good. They were good. They were not elite. So,
yeah, look, Will Pauling last year led the team in touchdown receptions, ran a 4.37 official 40-yard dash and had a 40-inch vertical, and he went undrafted.
Yes, he did.
Like, I don't know what that outlook looks like for Faison, but we'll see. Sticking with the wide receivers back up to the top here, Vince, we got John A1.
Is Jaden Greathouse just not a great fit as a boundary receiver?
I don't want to say not a great fit. I just think that he possesses a certain skill set to be a matchup nightmare in the slot. But there are certain skill sets that he has to absolutely work in the boundary. I mean, he's a great contested catch winner. He's a bigger bodied guy.
Sure.
I know he's only 6'1", but like not all boundary receivers have to be 6'4", 6'5". They don't all have to look like Malachi Fields or be built like Quincy Porter. Jaden Greathouse has long arms, great contested catch ability. So, I mean, he could absolutely work out there. I just think he's better suited at other places in the offense. That's how I view him.
He's not a boundary receiver in Mike Denbrock's offense, at least the one that he has in his mind. You know what I mean? Like his ideal offense is not a 6'1" guy in the boundary. It's just not. And could he play there? Yeah. I mean, we've seen shorter guys play in the boundary in Denbrock's offense before. Could he do it? Sure. But he's not a great fit in Denbrock's offense in the boundary, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, has he done it before in the past? Absolutely. Like Chris Brown was their boundary receiver in 2015, but in an ideal world, his boundary receiver looks more like Miles Boykin.
Correct.
Or Equinemius St. Brown, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we
100%.
saw what a Equinemius St. Brown boundary receiver offense looks like with Mike Denbrock as the offensive coordinator in 2016. Another one of the few bright spots that happened on that year. So,
right, 100%. So, he could play all three positions. But there's positions that he's better at.
Yep.
John A1, is CJ Carr capable of engineering a really good passing attack with a bunch of wide receivers who are just okay?
Yeah, I think so. He's an elevator of talent, but luckily I don't think we're going to have to find that out this year because I don't think the wide receivers are just going to be okay. I know that's not the point that you're getting at here,
sure.
John, but just with CJ Carr in general, yeah, I absolutely think he's capable of engineering a really good passing attack with a bunch of wide receivers that are just okay.
And you set the bar at really good passing attack, not elite. You set the bar at really good. Yeah, they can reach the really good bar just with CJ Carr in year 2. Just from him, whatever he does from year 1 to year 2, he can definitely elevate those wide receivers to a really good passing game. Absolutely. From Salty, if you were writing the script for an impossibly over-the-top Notre Dame football film, what would be the final play in a come-from-behind national championship game victory?
Oh, completely over the top? I mean, it would be something like a double reverse pass. A hook and ladder. Yeah.
From Varsity Blues.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, my gosh. What sign are they giving from the sideline? Hook and ladder. Oh, they're going to run the hook and ladder. You're telling me nobody on the other side saw that one? Come on.
They didn't have Connor Stallions on the other side to really debunk.
Yeah, clearly.
What they were doing. Oh, that's funny. No, over the top, it would be something like that. Like it would be a hook and ladder. It'd be a double reverse pass. The casting in it would just be ridiculous. Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson would be playing Marcus Freeman. Like, you know what I mean? It just absolutely ripped. Like it over the top. Yeah, man. I mean, it would look like that.
Yeah. I would love like over the top would be like, the other team is driving down the field and it's a tie game and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you get like a pick 6 from Leonard Moore where he also has to shovel it behind him like 3 times just to get it across the end zone with no time left on the clock, in Notre Dame Stadium. Well, I guess it'll be in the national championship. So it'd be,
that'd be over the top though. It would happen in Notre Dame's for whatever reason.
Because the roof fell in Las Vegas, but Pete Bavacqua stepped forward and be like, we can host in January in South Bend. Come on down. We'll ready.
Build a dome.
Yeah.
it would be that level over the top. It would. Yes.
Let's go.
That's what it would be. It would be Leonard Moore gets a pick 6, who's played by Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
I mean, it would just be ridiculous.
Of course. And then, Vince Vaughn would come back as the backup running back to throw a touchdown,
Rudy would be on the sideline.
Just to get Rudy into the game at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Rudy would be on the sideline drinking a Guinness with Vince Vaughn.
And Joe Montana.
It would just be the most over the top thing. Like maybe we get together with somebody, we talk about this. Maybe we bring this to light after we get the magazine done. Maybe we start producing the next over-the-top college football movie. That'd be fun.
Let's go. Vince, are you nicer to your family when you have the opportunity to administer discipline on the daily at Penn? Okay, so this is actually a really good question. Myself and my fellow dean, there's 3 of us, but the 2 of us have been together for a really long time. His name is Indasha, and on more than one occasion during the day, or it's been a rough day or a rough week, he'll walk into my office and he'll shut the door and he'll sit down and he'll be like, "Thank God we've got good kids." Like that, and like it's a legit conversation that we have because our kids are all about the same age. He's got some older, a little bit older, a little bit younger, but our kids are about the same age, and they're all good kids. They're all good kids. They're all playing sports in college and things of that nature. And he's just like, "Thank God we have good kids." Because sometimes you just don't hit the lottery and have good kids. And, because we run through good parents that just have no idea what they're doing with their kid because their kid is just a maniac, He's like, "We got blessed, man. We have good kids." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're lucky." There's no doubt about it. So to your point, Salty, I don't know that I'm nicer, but I am much more appreciative of my family / kids every day when I come home from work. So there you go. From Joseph Parr, record for most field goals made in a season. Record is 23 by Kyle Brinza. This is a great question. Do I think that Spencer Porath has the ability to hit 23 field goals in a season? 100%. Do I think Notre Dame offense is going to stall 23 times in order for him to hit 23 field goals? I do not. I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to kick 23 field goals.
Yes, that is absolutely where I'm at with that one too, Vince. This is going to be a record that won't be broken because the offense in general is just better than what year was that? Let me look.
Well, no. So just to put it a little bit into perspective, Purdue was terrible last year. I think we can all agree on that. They were not a good football team. And Spencer Porath last year kicked 17 or attempted 17 field goals, hit 15 of them for 88%. And then the year before, when they were also terrible, Purdue as a team only attempted 15 field goals. So you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see, now maybe they weren't even close enough to attempt a field goal, like that kind of thing. But I just don't see Notre Dame sputtering within field goal range that many times.
Yeah, the record that he set was in 2012, and he attempted 31 field goals, made 23 of them. And there's a reason why a lot of their games in that year ended in the scores that they did. Like BYU was like 13-6, Michigan was like 13-7. Like they kicked a bunch of field goals against USC. I remember. I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Yeah. ND Wine and Cheese. Trev, do you go to the stadium showing of Rudy? They do it every year.
So I used to when I lived up north, but that is you're good, man. You're good. I used to, but that is that's much more difficult for me to do now that I live down here in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Like it would be hard for me to justify leaving for a day to see a 2-hour movie,
especially when you're going to have a little one at home eventually. And
yes, absolutely. But having said that, I'm very much looking forward to the day where I can take Dom up there and we can go and do those movies.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
That I am. But dude, I'm counting down the days until he's old enough that I can take him to campus, and he gets it. I'll be taking him to campus when he's a baby.
Right.
But when he's old enough to get it. Oh, counting down
awesome.
that day.
It's one of the best things about being a parent is seeing first time events through your kid's eyes, whether it's a sporting event or what. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. It's the joy of being a parent, man. And I know that sounds sappy and ridiculous, but it's so true. Experiencing things through your kids is the ultimate joy. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, that's a good follow-up for this one here from Salty.
All right, Vince, what is your advice on any topic to Trevor as he prepares to have a 2-child household?
Well, unless we're counting Buck as child number one. Now, this would be a better question for Lauren.
I was going to say,
she
yeah.
arguably is getting ready to have a 2-child household when you factor in me. But yes, just a 1-child household.
Yeah, the easiest advice and one you'll get from a lot of people is just stay in the moment, enjoy the moment, don't worry about the future, and don't worry about the past. Stay in the moment because they go by super fast. It's funny. I was watching Father of the Bride with one of my daughters last night, and he would in the movie, Steve Martin remembers his daughter that's getting married when she was in pigtails and when she was younger, and hits a little bit more closer to home as your kids get older. You know what I mean? And by the way, Steve Martin was 45 years old when he shot that movie, and my daughter said that I don't look anything as old as he is, so I really appreciated that. But I just enjoy the moment because it goes by so fast. And I think any parent that's in the chat would agree with that. I remember it was yesterday when Dylan was born and he's knocking on the door at 20. And it's everything in between, so just enjoy every piece of it. Enjoy every moment stay in the moment as much as you possibly can.
That is very much appreciated. That is something that I have to work on in general.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Because it's you can look forward to certain things and you just want the days to go by and you want this day to end and blah, blah, blah. And then you start looking back, you're like, holy crap, I might have more days behind me than I have in front of me. I need to start enjoying these days like that. I've had that thought before. You're not there yet. But as my kids get older and it's shoot, I've got 4 kids either have graduated high school or are in high school right now, and then 1 bringing up the rear. And it's time is ebbing so much quicker than it ever has in the past. So,
got some football questions in here from John A1.
Okay, thank you. We can get off the sappy train. All right, for John A1, is the strength of the Notre Dame defense going to be up the middle, where they try to funnel the opponent to the middle of the field, or is it the opposite in 26?
I think for Chris Ash's defense, they want to be stout up the middle. I don't think that it's a coincidence that their portal additions included Tion Gray and Francis Brew, and the makeup of the linebacker room is going to be a major driver of success. I mean, think about this, Vince. Notre Dame up the middle of the defense are going to have 1 of or 2 of Jason Onye, Elijah Hughes, Armel Mukum, Tion Gray, Francis Brew, all those. You get your linebacking core in there. Then in the back end, you have a Don Schuler and Breonte Johnson. So the middle of the defense, I think, is going to be exceptionally stout. Having said that, I think the overall strength of the defense is still on the perimeter. You have Leonard Moore, the number 1 overall cornerback in college football. ESPN deems him to be the number 1 overall defender in college football. In the defensive line, you have Boubacar Traore, Bryce Young, Keon Keeley, Rodney Dunham. There's a good chance that that's the 4-man D-end rotation that you're going to be looking at, with contributions from Ebenezer Utade and Logan Thomas and Dom Hulak and Joe Reif, and so I think strength as far as the talent, I think, is still going to be on the perimeter. But yeah, I think you could see that talent funnel things into the middle of the field. I think that's a good hypothesis.
I think that's always what you want to do as a defense, is you want to funnel things back to the middle. I think that's always the goal of your defense. But I mean, to your point, I think their strength is on the outside, but your strength as a defense as a whole is always back towards the middle where you've got friends. So that's always the goal, is to funnel back to the middle, no doubt. From Salty, when was the last time Notre Dame had a returning head coach, both coordinators, quarterback, coach, and quarterback, and how did that season work out? Man, I don't know about that one. If I'm being honest, I'm not sure.
Off the top of my head, I want to say 2016. I could be wrong, but Brian Kelly came back, Brian Van Gorder came back, Mike Denbrock came back. I think their quarterback coach came back, and then obviously Deshaun Kaiser came back. One of the Ian Book years could also be in there as well. Like Chip Long, I know, was back and from 19 to 20. Obviously, then Ian Book comes back. Brian Kelly was back. Defensive coordinator from 19 to 20 was Clark Lee still. So that was another year, I believe. I could be wrong. But how did that season work out? I mean, look, at the end of the day, any of the seasons, no matter which one I bring up, they didn't win a title.
Well, obviously, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and if we're talking about 2016, nothing good happened really that year. So,
well, yeah, nothing. Well, yeah, nothing good happened overall. They changed defensive coordinators. That was good. But outside of that, I didn't like
yeah,
the road to how they got there to have to do that.
right. Another one from Salty. What are your expectations for Sean Sevillano this season?
To be prepared when his number's called. We saw him used in certain personnel groupings in the spring. I expect to see more of that in fall camp and then throughout the season. I don't know if he's going to be making, barring a barrage of injuries, I just don't think that he's going to be competing for a starting spot. But he's only going to be a redshirt sophomore, so I fully expect him to be ready whenever his number's called. That would be my expectation for Sean Sevillano.
Yep. I mean, he wants to be in the rotation. He needs to be in the rotation if he's going to contribute. I think that's the expectation, is that he somehow gets in. And that would be my I don't expect him to start. But I expect him to be a rotation player. But would he be like first man out? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to be up to him. But I expect him to be in the rotation to start things off. ND Wine and Cheese. If you could put one team in college football at number one to have the preseason number one curse, that being if you are a preseason number one, you won't win the national championship, who would you pick?
Ohio State, strictly because Archer's been giving me some stuff in the chat this week.
Ooh, okay, that's fair. I like the personal aspect of it. I think for me, it's Texas. I wouldn't mind seeing them continue to not live up to expectations. That would be a fun one for me. And I think they got a good shot at being number one in the preseason. So I'm going to go with Texas.
In all seriousness, I would probably say like Oregon, like to give them that number one curse. Now, you could also argue that it's like they've never won a national title in the history of their program, so they might not need that curse for that to happen.
Sure.
But yeah, that'd probably be one of them.
I like it.
Speaking of Archer,
Kyle Whittingham said, hate is a strong word, and the passion of the rivalry shouldn't be fueled by hate. Oh, that's adorable. Do you hate USC? Number one. And number two, the team up north. So Michigan cheated, and I hope they lose every game. That's fantastic from Archer.
Oh, man. Okay, so one, do I hate USC? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I absolutely do. Now, where I think Kyle Whittingham, like, fueled by hate, like, that one is like, I think a good rivalry has to have some sort of tradition in it, right? Like, there has to be some, like, one of the reasons why the USC rivalry gained a lot of momentum back in like the 70s was like, this was a, 1 versus 2. Whoever wins this game goes on to win the national championship. And so that's some of the things that I love about that rivalry. But I do think that there needs to be a good mix because like Notre Dame and Navy are rivals. They absolutely don't hate each other, but I think you need a good blend. I don't want every single one of Notre Dame's rivals where it's like you're doing, I know you don't do it in college, but you get the point. I don't want them to be doing jersey swaps at the end of games of rivalry games.
No,
like I don't want
neither.
it to be like, they're a rival because we respect them. Like I do like the aspect of like, no, I don't like you. Like Jeremiah Love does not like USC. Like he has been very open about not liking USC. And I love that. I think that fuels a part of the rivalry. So hate being a strong word, sure, I guess. I'm kind of impartial to that one, but do I hate USC? Yes, I do. And yes, the team up north cheated.
Okay. I'm a little different on this one. I do not hate USC. I have a strong respect for USC, but I want to beat their butts every time Notre Dame plays them. And so I have a very strong passion for winning against USC, but I don't hate them. Now, I hate the people that are in charge right now, but I don't hate USC as a program. I think there's a lot of respect there for me when it comes to USC. I hate Michigan. Like I hate Michigan. I'm with Archer. Like he and I hate Michigan, and I'm cool with that. They cheated. They didn't deserve a national title. I hate everything about Michigan. I hate them. When I see people walking around with like a Michigan hat or a Michigan shirt, I automatically do not like that person. I don't. It's not like USC people. I don't feel that way. I feel that way about Michigan people. Like that's just where I'm at. That's a totally juvenile take on my part, and I get it. But that's where I'm at, man. So like there are some rivalries where there's hate. I just don't hate USC. I really, really dislike Lincoln Riley. I really, really dislike their AD, probably in the hate area, in the hate zip code. But as soon as they get a different coach, I'll just want to beat their butts and make them the inferior team. I just don't hate them like I do Michigan, for example. So that's where I'm at.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I hate both.
That's fair too. Look, that's fair. And like my hatred for Michigan like goes like to the entire state. Like I see drivers with Michigan license plates, I get upset. And if it's a bad driver and like I'll see and it's like a Michigan plate, I'm like, yup, that makes sense. That like I have an unhealthy hatred for Michigan, which I should not have.
For me with USC, like I think it's just because one of the first games I ever sat down and watched was the Notre Dame USC push game. Like I remember times I was like, that's illegal. You can't assist a runner like that. You're not allowed to do that. And so to me, I was like, okay, you cheated.
Yeah.
Every interaction I've had with their fans for the most part have not been great. I don't like the fact that, when they travel to Notre Dame in October, when it's like 55 degrees outside, they're all in like parkas with their surfer hair gelled back and they're all wearing the same stuff. And this better than now because we're West Coast. We live in LA. Can't stand that. I'm how you feel a lot of the times about US or about Michigan is how I feel about USC. But I also feel that way about Michigan. But again, that's why I like rivals. Like that's why I like rivalry things. Like that's like Michigan fans don't mess with Ohio State fans. Ohio State fans don't mess with Michigan fans. Like Alabama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl. Like there's a clear divide within the state of not liking each other. I think there's a good piece of that in college football. But I don't think, to Kyle Whittingham's point, that shouldn't be every rivalry. Like, because that would just get exhausting. Like, especially for Notre Dame. I would get exhausted. It's like, in 1 year you play Purdue, Michigan. Think of the 2012 schedule. It's like, yep, you play Purdue, Stanford, Michigan, Michigan State, Navy, USC, and Miami. That's a lot of hatred. That's exhausting. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
Yep. No, I totally get it. And it's hard if you're coming in as a coach into a rivalry situation like an Ohio State and a Michigan. So like to Kyle Whittingham's point, he has no reason to hate Ohio State. Like he's not there yet. He hasn't experienced the rivalry yet. He may grow to hate Ohio State. Like that's a definite possibility. But he hasn't even played in the game. Like, I get it. Like, I generally subscribe to his theory that hate is a strong word. It's not something you should do. I taught my kids that when they were young. Like, you don't hate that person. You don't hate, certain things. But man, I also understand why, just because he signed on the dotted line and he wears maize and blue, that he hates Ohio State. Like, he's not there yet. Give it a couple years. Maybe he will be. But I would be surprised if he just banged his fist on the podium about how much he hates Ohio State when he just walked in the door a few months ago.
100%. Like people, I've heard some pushback from people that are like, well, Curt Cignetti walked in the door and said he hates Purdue. It's like, yeah, it's easy to hate a team that is putrid.
Yeah.
Like what's Kyle Whittingham going to do? Go in and walk in the door and wake up the giant that is Ohio State.
Exactly.
And then they just go on their run again. Like, yeah, Curt Cignetti should have done that to Purdue. It's like, it'd be like going and picking on the little kid at the playground. That's what Curt Cignetti did. It's like, yeah, hey, friendly reminder, I hate Purdue. It's like,
right.
Well, they suck. So yeah, you hate Purdue. Like Kyle Whittingham, that would be the equivalent of like a middle of the road athlete going into the playground, this proverbial playground in elementary school and picking on one of the biggest kids at the school, be like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Like, that would just be dumb.
Exactly.
I'm with you completely.
Yeah.
With you. Let's see here.
All right, from KC. Do you foresee a running back rotation as the top two guys or expanding beyond that? It's a great question.
It is. I'm hoping beyond that because I think the room will dictate that. But that's something that Jay Sider has to prove that he is willing to do this year. Now, here's the caveat. He, as a running back coach, especially the last, 4, arguably 5 seasons, hasn't had to go deeper than a 2 running back rotation. Who behind Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen at Penn State we're going to push them for reps? I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
And then last year at Notre Dame, I look, I'm as high on Aeneas Williams this season as the next guy. I think Nolan James Jr. could be a very good running back at Notre Dame. Respect to both of them. Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price should not have been taken off the field barring injury for either one of those guys.
Agreed.
So he's never had to do that. So I'm not willing to write his obit yet and just say no, he's not going to do it because we've never seen it. There's a rationale for why we haven't seen it yet. But Casey, I would also be lying to you if I said that I had the answer to this question. So I think we're going to see more of a committee this year. But based on the things that Jay Sider has done in the past, I wouldn't be beside myself if we just saw Aeneas Williams and Kedron Young in bulk, and then they worked in Nolan James Jr., Jonas Walton, and Javian Osborne whenever they had the time to.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest questions going into camp and into the beginning of the season. What is the rotation going to look like? We have no evidence whatsoever that he will go more than 2. But he had 2 very unique running back rooms, to your point. And so I think there's a ton of talent in that room, and I think you're going to need to get a lot of guys some touches. When it's nut cutting time, who is going to be on the field and what's that going to look like and what's the rotation going to be, we'll find out. But I would like to see a 3-man rotation. We saw it 2 years ago, obviously, with Aeneas as the 3rd down back, that kind of a thing, catching balls out of the backfield as a true freshman. I think there's roles for a bunch of these guys. I would be a little hesitant to go maybe beyond 3, but I think 3 is probably the right number. But I couldn't tell you what 3 that's going to be and what that's going to look like. We've got health issues, with Aeneas and Kedron, both. So what does it look like? I don't know. I hope it's more than 2. That's where I'm at. But this is one of the bigger questions going into camp.
Some of it too, Vince, is going to come down to who forces the issue. It's easy for us to say on paper, Jonas Walton and Javian Osborne were very highly rated coming out of high school. They should play right away. It's everything still has to be earned. Nolan James still has to go earn a spot in that rotation. So that's the other piece. The question about Jay Sider expanding the rotation is part of it is he going to be willing to, if one of those players shows and showcases the ability to be a contributor on this year's offense, will he be willing to go deeper? I'm with you. That's one of the bigger questions of the offseason.
Yeah, 100%.
Got one in here from Josh Buffo, the motivational business banker.
Yeah, buddy. Most likely to happen. Nolan James becomes RB1 by week 4. Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham are as good as we think they are. And Mylan Graham gets 1,000 yards, or DJ McKinney makes himself a round 1 pick. It's I think this is kind of like a buy one, sell one, hold one kind of a deal here.
Yeah. Most likely to happen. I'm going to sell Nolan James becomes RB1 by week 4 because I think that would take an injury to happen, and I'm not going to predict an injury. He's going to play, but for him to be RB1 by week 4 would take an injury. So that one I would sell.
Like
I would. Yeah.
I don't like that premise.
As of right now, I'd probably buy DJ McKinney makes himself a round 1 pick. I've seen NFL draft analysts project him as a first-round draft pick, and that's before he's put on a gold helmet in a Notre Dame practice. So that's probably the one that I would buy. And then I'm going to hold the Quincy Porter one, the Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham one. Could they be? Absolutely. Will Mylan Graham get 1,000 yards? I have no idea. He absolutely has the skill set too, but so does Jaden Greathouse, so does Jordan Faison. So, you guys understand how this works. But Notre Dame has also not had an 1,000-yard wide receiver since 2019.
Exactly.
And so that's just something that I'm just not willing to predict. Could it happen this season? Absolutely. Could it have happened in 24? Yep. 25? Yep. 23? Yep. 22? But it's all possible, but I'm not willing to predict it. But they're very much capable of doing it, so that's why I'm holding it.
I completely agree with your order. I think the I don't like to predict injuries and things like that. So the Nolan James one is the easy sell here. And the likelihood of DJ McKinney versus Mylan Graham getting 1,000 yards, I'm going with DJ McKinney all the way. So this is an easy one for me as well. I go with the exact same order as you. It goes McKinney, Graham, James. Like that's the order for me.
Yep. Last couple here, Vince. There's some quick ones, and then we'll get out of here. This one, Sean, it says, what do you think of Kurt Cignetti's comments during the Big 12 Media Day? Brian and I are actually going to do a show on this next week, so I don't want to steal any of the thunder. I thought they were very indicative of his confidence level in his team and in his conference. I'll leave it at that because I know Brian wants to dive into like a lot of the comments from the Big 10 Media Day and things like that. I just didn't want you to think that we were ignoring the question. So appreciate you there, Sean. This one from Salty. Last three here from Salty. Old Leprechaun or new sports-specific Leprechaun, Vince? What do you think?
Old Leprechaun. I'm old school. The new Leprechaun is fine for selling shirts and stuff. And I don't really even have an issue with them putting it on the uniform. It's just it's a way to sell more merchandise. I don't. That's just where I'm at. I know a lot of work went into it. I get it. It's okay.
Yep, agreed. Interesting one here from Jay Melvin. Got it in right before the buzzer.
Oh boy, Vince. Last year Notre Dame was one of 10 teams that opted out of a bowl game. Why was Notre Dame the only team to get crushed by the? Because they're Notre Dame. That's why. That's what generates clicks. Nobody cares about anybody else opting out of a bowl game. It's Notre Dame's a bunch of sore losers. They didn't get in. And anytime you have Notre Dame and sore loser in the same sentence, it's going to get clicks. That's why.
100%. Nobody's going to care that like a 5-7
right.
Florida State team opted out of their bowl game.
Right. Nobody cares.
Yep. The reason why they cared is they were going to pit what they were going to do. ESPN was going to pit these two storylines together and say two teams that should have been in the playoffs.
100%.
And it's like, well, should have been in the playoffs by the committee. That's yours.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here? So Notre Dame, I respect their decision, still do to sit out of the bowl game.
Yep. Me too.
All righty. Vince, last one of the day here from our guy Salty.
What is the most prestigious offensive and defensive record at Notre Dame? Good Lord.
Most prestigious?
Well, I mean, the most prestigious team record overall is winning national championships. But he asked for offense and defense.
I'll say this, Salty. I don't know if I can give you the most prestigious off the top of my head or from what I can recollect from but I'll tell you some that are the most impressive that I saw. There's a linebacker, I think, in 1976 who had 26 total tackles in one game. Like Drake Bowen last year, I think against either Navy or Boston College, had 14. And I was like, that's insane. The fact that somebody got 12 more than that in a game is bananas. Like that's probably one of the most impressive defensive ones that I'd seen. The most prestigious offensive record, I'm not sure, honestly, off the top of my head. Vince, what do you think?
Well, how is it not 149 points against?
I mean,
whatever. Whatever team that was again.
Against the Irish breakdown flag football team. Yeah. It's got to be that. I'm with you completely. I mean, to that line, I mean, the most prestigious defensive record is not allowing a single point in an entire season, something that they did in 1912. So that would probably be it.
There you go. I'm with you there. I like it.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here this afternoon on the Irish Breakdown Podcast, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. I believe, Vince, guys going live, IB Nation Sports Beat tonight.
5 o'clock. All three as a 3-man booth. So should be a lot of fun. We got kind of a fun game we're going to play throughout the entire show. So definitely tune in at 5 o'clock.
Love it. Tune in at 5:05. We are going to be back next Monday. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel and you hit that notification bell so you know whenever we go live. On your way out of this show, please be sure to hit that like, share this podcast with your friends, family, anybody that you know loves Notre Dame and college football as much as you do. But as always, cannot emphasize this enough. Folks, fall camp starts next week. The season is right around the corner, And the IB preseason magazine is getting ready to be released. We're working through final edits, things like that right now as we speak. Be a premium message board subscriber at boards.irishbreakdown.com. Make sure that you sign up there. Brian has some great pre-camp intel out. I know he has quarterback, so line out. I think wide receiver is out. Make sure you hop on the premium message boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com. Have a fun and safe weekend. Until next time, that's Vince. I'm Trevor. We will see you back here very soon on the Irish Breakdown podcast.